Good
Oh yeah, you're right.
afternoon. Good afternoon, and welcome to our Roundtable Talks, the show where we take a topic and we deep dive into it. Today, we're going to be covering two of Octavia E Butler's books from her Patternist series. We're going to cover Wild Seed and then Mind of My Mind.
Yes, sir. Just some background. So Octavia E. Butler is my favorite author, and so I had to recruit my brother into reading my favorite series. And actually, the second book in the series is the one I read first, and then I read all the rest. So it should be an interesting discussion.
Yes, so before we start, I want to, I guess, issue a little bit of warnings that we have. There's going to be some trigger warnings in the books that we cover. There's going to be violence, dubious consent, talks of slavery, toxic behavior, sexual misconduct, harsh language and emotions from the characters and from us. And just wanted to let everybody know that before we start, it's probably not going to be for anybody under 18, but we're going to try and keep it as civil as we can. Also, a huge spoiler alert. We're not going to hold back on anything. There's going to be plot talked about, characters, character development, motives, outcomes, everything. So I just want everybody to know that before you start, and that's going to be the same for Wild Seed and for Mind of My Mind.
Yeah.
So yeah.
All right. So before we even talk about,
Wait. You didn't even talk about my. I came dressed. I came
oh
dressed.
yeah, I saw that when we was loading in, and I was like, my boy went all out.
Yes, sir.
So the book is the main characters, they start off in Africa, and the main villain is African descent. Of course, later on he becomes non-raced, and we'll explain why.
Mhm.
And his first wild seed is of African descent, and she's immortal just like him, but in a different way. So the dress code is, at least on Wanted's end, is very apt. Mine is just, I guess I'm dressing up as the colonizer in this
Oh my
scenario.
goodness. Jeez. All right, so we already talked about two characters. We have the main, I won't call him a villain. Let's call him a protagonist. No, antagonist.
Yeah.
Doro. Let's talk about Doro for a little bit.
All right. Well, honestly, on one hand, I sympathize with Doro,
Mm-hmm.
even though I feel like we're not supposed to.
Mm-hmm.
But on the other hand, like, he's obviously morally corrupted.
Yeah,
And I think part of it could be because of his immortality, which
probably.
makes you think about, like, if you could live forever, would you stay a moral person?
I think in his case, he has a certain agenda at hand, and I think that's what corrupts him and makes him lose his immortality. He starts
Mm,
to see people as less than people, probably as less as you can see anything, you know?
yeah. Yeah, that's true. Um, but yeah, Doro, I found his character to be one that I sympathize with on some levels and then hated on other levels. And I like that in character development. Is like people who are quote unquote evil aren't necessarily, well, not always evil. Sometimes it's just that their motives and their goals cause them to do stuff that wouldn't be seen as ethical or morally correct. What
I
do you think
agree.
about him?
I don't like him. I liked him up until I knew what he was doing. So I guess he meets Anyanu, who's our second character we're gonna talk about in Africa, and they have like a rapport going on because he's immortal, she's immortal. Um, and I guess that sense of I'll give you something that you always wanted in return for something else. I feel like it was in the beginning the trade seemed to be okay, like maybe it will work for them in the end. But then after I realized what he was actually doing, which was like right after, it was like I don't like him, and then I never liked him No sympathy until I guess the very last page or the very last paragraph. Yeah,
Damn. I
man.
felt sympathy for him so many times. Okay,
Nah.
wait. So when he met Anyanwu, right?
Hmm.
Um, he promised, so because he's immortal and she's immortal, his promise was, I'm gonna give you children who are also gonna be immortal because all of her kids basically die a normal human lifespan, maybe a
Oh.
little bit longer because of her like ability to like create medicine and stuff.
Hmm.
But yeah, I kind of understand where you're coming from. Like initially, it sounds like he's trying to do something good,
Yeah.
but I feel like he kind of so two things that it kind of made me think of. One is like like the devil like giving you a deal for your soul kind of thing,
Yep. Yep.
and then the second one is like eugenics, where
Hmm.
like you're trying to breed the master race or whatever.
Yep.
I feel like that's what he was basically doing the whole time. Okay,
And
I think we should give some background before we continue, but go ahead.
to just to like add to what you just said, I don't think there's anything wrong in trying to build that because I think even we would try and build a better race of our own people. But I just think it's the way he went about doing it, which we're gonna talk about a little bit later, is what made him seem so sinister.
Yeah, I think the problem is too, like anytime you hear of people doing eugenics, it's always in a very bad way.
Yeah.
It's
So.
either they're trying to kill off some other race
Hmm.
or they doing like really horrible experiments.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So, but let's get some background. So Doro, how is he immortal? I remember you telling me that you didn't fully understand
I didn't
how that
like.
worked.
I didn't like the explanation, not because it was bad, but because from my mind, I needed a little bit more. That's all it
Uh,
was. So
I remember you asking me like, how is he able to do this stuff? Like, how do they get their powers? And I wanted to spoil it for you so bad, but I was like, let me just hold my tongue. Don't spoil. Did you figure it out, or you still don't know?
I mean, I figured out. Well, they didn't. Okay, let me just give the background first, then ask the question. So Doro came about during. He's a Nubian, and his people were enslaved by the Egyptians. Correct?
Yeah,
He's been around for that long, and Anyanu has been around for about 300 years by the time he meets her.
yeah,
He's able to remain immortal because, in my mind, based on well, this book and the other book combined, help me out.
yeah,
So
yeah. Go ahead.
he's like an entity, not really like a person, and he can switch bodies whenever the old body is dying or in danger. Is that correct?
Yeah, I would go a little bit further. Instead of saying he's an entity, I would say he's like mental energy.
Okay, I can understand that.
Yeah, yeah,
I think the problem here in this sci-fi area is that it's sci-fi, right? So there's no reason to give an explanation. But I would like to know like where this ability to do this came from, or like how did it come about, or something like that. But just to say it is what it is and here it is for me is like So I had to let that go in like the middle of the book and just like it'll come about. Like, it never came about, and then it came about more in the end of the second book, which we're gonna talk about later. But yes,
I kind of want to know what you. I think I have the answer, but I want to. I want to wait till the second book discussion
yeah, yeah,
because I want to see what your answer is before I like give my interpretation.
yeah, yeah. So.
Um, and then we have Anyanwu. Her abilities are a little bit different.
Mm-hmm.
She's immortal because she can manipulate her body to do whatever she wants. Basically,
Yep.
she can eat poison to figure out how it works. And actually, I should go into details about their powers a little bit
Mm-hmm.
more based
You
on my
can.
understanding.
Mm-hmm.
So in this world, there are special people called psychics, or like they have psionic abilities, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think Doro's abilities is psionic transfer, and I think Anyanwu's abilities is to use her psionic abilities to look within herself and manipulate her cells. So it's kind of like, I don't know, biokinetics.
Like neurons and things like that, like how everything's connected through energy in your body.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, but she using like psychic powers to like control her genes. She could control herself down to a cellular level.
Yep.
Because they're like back in Africa, like this is right before slavery happening
Hmm.
is when the plot begins. And she doesn't know what germs are, what cells are, what none of that stuff. None of those type of technologies have been um found yet or understood yet.
It's
So she
1690. Sorry.
okay, so she knows is small organisms, but she doesn't know what they're called or like she doesn't have a name for them or anything.
Yeah.
So
Wait.
that's why she's immortal because she basically has been the same age ever since she made 21. Well, how old was she when she went through the transition?
Normally it's like 18, right? But I don't think they said anything about her going to transition.
They did, but I don't remember.
Oh,
I'll have to look for it. I remember how long it took me to find the stuff yesterday.
but maybe you know how
Um,
to do it now.
yeah, I have to go for my Kindle. But yeah. Oh, so that's another thing we should talk about. I get we kind of jumping around, but in the book, people start off. It's kind of like X-Men in a way.
Yep,
You
I would
start
say.
off normal, and oh, and by the way, this predates X-Men, so they might have stolen some ideas from her. Maybe I don't know. You start off as a normal person up until you hit a certain age,
Yeah.
and then when you get to that age, you go through transition, which is a whole chaotic thing you could potentially die from. And then at the end, you either are an active, which is a person who is able to utilize their powers, or you're a latent, which means your transition didn't fully complete and you kind of in an in-between state where you get all the harms and none of the benefits, basically.
Yeah. You don't actually go through like the full transition, but you have some of the powers,
Yeah,
but you have
but you
no
have no
no
control.
control. Yep.
That's the worst. That's the worst. So with Dora meeting Anyanwu and convincing her to try and start this master race, um, let's talk about their relationship
Okay.
because I feel like at first she kind of felt love for him,
Hmm.
and then it turned into like hatred and like on disbelief of what he was doing, and then it turned back into love again. Well, a kind of love. I don't know how to describe it.
Yeah. It's for me, as I was getting my notes together yesterday, it reminded me of something like Stockholm syndrome a little bit.
Mm,
Because first she marries him, because obviously in her culture, marriage is important. But then he does things that makes her question if she wants to be married at all. And
yeah,
then that turns to hate because she sees what he can do, what he's capable of doing, even killing children. Like,
yeah,
and then one of the first things they do as a couple is he tells her she's gonna be married off to somebody else, and she says, "Well, I can't do that. It's an abomination," which is a word she uses a lot. I was listening
yeah,
to another podcast of people talking about the book, and they didn't like the way that she used the word, but that's the word that she knows, so that's what she's gonna use, and to her, that's what it is. You know,
yeah. What was their issue with her using the word abomination? I didn't see a problem with it.
I don't think they liked her because I guess she wasn't strong enough. So I guess whatever she said was already seen through a glass of judgment.
Mm.
You
You know, it's interesting because I feel like Octavia didn't write like a female character to be a hero. I think a lot of her characters are supposed to represent like things in society as it is now or as it is back then. And back then in their culture, even though Anyanwu could be independent and could be like she didn't really need a guy,
yeah.
her upbringing is what made her and the society she's lived in for her
Hmm.
300 years has been not patriotic,
Patriarchal,
yeah,
patriarchal.
patriarchal. So that's what she knows.
Yeah.
So for her is like, and even like how she would worship the gods even though she didn't believe in them, is that kind of thing. Is like I don't really agree or believe in it, but this is the life I live, so I'm going to do it
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
I need to fit in.
Yeah. Assimilate.
Yeah, and I think that's true. Like like in a lot of her books she put themes, right? And I think that's a theme about like living life in general. Like
Hmm.
even though you don't believe in something or you don't agree with something, sometimes you just have to assimilate to survive or
Hmm.
just to not cause unwanted attention to yourself.
I see that.
So I don't know. I didn't think she was meant to be written as a strong female character. I think in book two we'll talk about a strong female character.
Oh, I can't wait for book two. Book one was just, I wouldn't say boring, but I needed some more action in there. Some more like this about to happen, this about to pop off. Let's go.
Yeah.
And I didn't really get that. I got more of like, let's tell a story. Here's some background, which I appreciated. I'm not gonna lie, I appreciated it.
Yeah. Imagine reading book two first and then going back and reading book one.
I believe that's
Would that
why
have helped?
it was so impactful for you.
Yeah. I think I should have had you read them in the order I read them. But I thought it might have been better to read them in chronological order instead so that you could like, hi, wanted wife. So that you could I
So it's
guess
like,
not be confused. But
yeah,
I guess it had the opposite effect. Well, maybe not opposite effect, but it didn't have the correct effect.
you know what this tells me? We need
What?
to continue the Xenos, the other series, if they actually get better over time.
That's fair, but I ain't gonna lie, I'm not interested.
Hey, I already start, so I have to finish now.
If you want to, I'll definitely do it though. I'll
Yeah,
definitely
yeah.
do it.
Okay, so
But I also wanted to read some books that you're interested in so that we have a better spread. But anyway, go ahead.
um, Doro, I believe I have like notes here, small notes that he has like other powers, but now you say
Oh
it's
yeah, he does.
psionic. I think I know where it's coming from because he could find his people by just thinking about them,
Hmm.
and nobody can lie to him.
Yeah, I thought that was weird. 'Cause I didn't see how that relates. I
Ex-
thought that was yeah.
Man, that's part of the reason why I didn't like him because like he, I felt when I was studying the book like, is he supposed to be a god or something? Like, because he wouldn't explain who he was, he wouldn't show his powers. But I guess because his power is killing, so he definitely can't show you that. But
Oh,
telep
I want to talk about his power. Okay, go ahead. Got me
telepaths
excited.
kind of read his mind, and like he has the ability to take different bodies. I think we said that. So when he's in a different body, you always know who he is. So that I was like, this has to be God. So like
Yeah.
for the whole book, I was like, is he, like that's why I was so confused. I wanted like an actual backstory so I could know what's going on. But go ahead, go free.
So I think he wanted to be seen as a god.
Hmm.
I mean, he lived for like 3,000 years already.
Hmm.
So for him, he probably feel like I am a god. I could do whatever I want. Nobody could kill me. If you try and kill me, I just take your body. Oh, let's talk about his powers a little bit. So he transfers his consciousness into other people's consciousness by consuming their consciousness. And I think in I don't know if it's this book or the next book, but it kind of describes how it looks if you were to like go into the mental landscape to
Second
see
book,
it.
the second book.
Okay, I won't talk about it then, but I kind of feel like it's important in a way because in book one he did share it with Anyanwu without
Mhm.
killing her.
Yeah,
Remember that?
yeah.
So I thought that was cool that he could like do it without actually killing you, but he have to be careful because he can't like fully control it.
Yeah.
Um,
I think
but
I
his ability to go
go
ahead.
ahead. No, you go ahead.
His ability to tell if you lying, I think, is not really from his powers. I think it's just because he lived so long and interacted with so much people that he could kind of like read body languages really well. Because he's been around for 3,000 years.
I have another possible explanation. I feel like he's creating. This is probably supposed to be at the end, but whatever. He's creating a people, and everybody's his people, so they're all basically connected. And I feel like that connection is taken to a whole other level in the second book.
Mm,
But their connection isn't as strong as like in the second book. It's like a small connection so he could find you anywhere you are, and where everybody that he creates always seem to draw together, for better or for worse.
mm,
You know?
yeah. I think part of it too is that he rules with fear.
Oh yeah.
So it's kind of weird. It's like I rule with fear, but you still love me. It's like they worship him, but they're also afraid of him, which is funny
Well,
because what does that remind you of? What do we know in this world where people fear this being that they also love and they're afraid to
yeah.
feel his or her wrath?
I think that's most religions, I would say.
Yeah, that's why I try and get is like this is basically he's like a pseudo impersonation of the monotheistic God.
Yeah.
Um, because they love him, but they fear him, and they can't run, and they know that if they run, they get punished even worse.
In this case, they died.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, oh, I want to talk about his tracking sense.
Go ahead.
So he described it as him being a predator, and so he's drawn to a certain type of, I guess, mental energy. Like us normies, we don't satisfy his hunger as much as people who have psychic powers. So because of that, he's more drawn to psychic power people because that's who gives him a better meal.
He would still kill a normie though,
Yeah, he don't care who he killed.
because there's always a reason behind it. Always.
Yeah, yeah. And the other thing is, a lot of things that he did was basically to show his power.
Yeah.
So he would like find somebody, like if somebody disobey him, he wouldn't immediately kill them. He would give them opportunities to submit, basically.
Yeah.
So he would like threaten their whole family or like take over the body of one of their children or something
Hmm.
to like show them like you can't do nothing to stop me, basically.
Yeah.
So you have to submit. And I remember this one guy, he cut off his whole arm,
Yeah.
and then that guy became his best servant.
That's crazy. Um, I guess let's go to the boat.
Okay. So
So
we
we're
fast forwarding a lot.
or are we?
Kind of. I mean, I guess it wasn't that big of a transition. They basically went on a journey once he met her,
Yeah.
and then they went to the boat. So
They-
yeah,
They're
yeah,
walking towards the boat, basically.
yeah.
So Doro is a slaver, I would say, in some terms.
In a way, it's kind of man, I hated this part of the story actually a lot
Yeah.
because I don't think that he necessarily cared about slavery.
He don't care about people.
Yeah, he don't care about
He's
human
so
beings at all.
disconnected from the human like experience at that point. It's like it's just we're just shells to him.
Yeah. So I feel like I don't feel like he participated in slavery per se, but he also kind of like used it to his advantage.
Yep.
So some background for those of you who didn't read the book. During the slavery times, Doro basically found some white people that he enslaved, for lack of a better word, and he used them to search for his people who are people who have psychic powers so that they wouldn't be enslaved in a normal way.
Yeah.
He wanted them enslaved in his way, which is he calls his people seeds and he literally uses them like basically like cattle, like he breeds them together, try and make different types of versions of powers that he likes.
Yeah.
And it's all for a goal. He says he wants to build a family. Like, I want to build a family around me. And I think at one point he said initially he just bred them so that he would have the best food whenever he needed it. But then he started to feel more like these are his people.
Yeah.
The more he started like hanging around them and stuff. So I don't know. He also kind of dichotomous in that way. Like he kind of weird. Like they're food, but they're also my family. Is like strange.
Thinking about it now, I think the psychology of it is he lost his family at a young age, so I guess he's searching for that in some way.
True. And these people could understand him better than normal people because they could feel him when he killing them.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Hmm.
Whereas normal people, I don't think they necessarily feel him. They just get taken over too quickly.
Yeah. Yeah. So they travel to the ship, and now Doro has told Anyanu that she's gonna marry somebody else eventually.
Oh, you fast forwarding way far because that was near the end, almost the end of the journey.
So you want to talk about the whole journey?
Yeah, because she tried to escape at one point. Well, she turned to a dolphin. That was a big important part.
That's on the ship.
Yeah, but you fast forward to when he getting married, which was after
No,
the dolphin stuff.
well, he's telling her that she gonna get married. Okay, so I guess I did go too far then. So we're
Yeah,
on the
you
ship.
going too far.
We're on the
So
ship,
we on the ship. We on the ship. Go ahead.
and now has she learned about what he's doing? Yes, because they talked before they got on the ship. So now he's told her that if you come with me, I will not harm your people, which we found out later is a lie.
Yep.
Or if you come with me, I'll give you children that won't die.
Yeah.
But he didn't know if that was true or not.
Yeah. He didn't know, but he was trying to make it happen.
Mm, okay, so now fill in the holes now.
Fill in the hole. That's what she said. All right.
Yeah.
So on the ship, even though it's a slave ship, it's really good conditions.
Yeah.
Nobody's in shackles.
Mm-hmm,
Nobody's
mm-hmm.
being raped or can I say that on YouTube's?
Yeah.
Okay, let me just timestamp this. What's where we at? Where I don't know. Okay, you can find it hopefully from that spike.
The
Okay,
no the
so
noise the noise canceling was so perfect. I heard nothing.
that's hilarious.
Don't worry, we're at 29 minutes. Let's go.
Okay, so yeah, even though they're on a slave ship, they're not really slaves. They're his people. So he's taking care of them. They live in life. The only rule on the ship is don't kill each other, don't rape, and obey him. Mostly just obey him. That's really the only rule.
Yeah.
So while he's on the ship, he have some people on there already who I assume are mixed, like white and black. But the captain is white, and that's his son. Let's talk about his son,
Isaac.
Isaac.
Isaac, okay.
Yeah,
That's his favorite son.
definitely.
And he has like the most promise of anybody with abilities. And
What was his ability?
I am going to say telekinesis, but I'm not sure.
I think you're right.
Okay. Because the way I described it is that Isaac would throw Anyanu into the air. But I guess it was him using his mind and not his
Mhm.
body, or probably both. I don't know.
It was his mind.
Okay.
They talked about it several times. Like, for instance, they kept talking about how the ship was moving through the water so fast, even though there
Mm-hmm.
was no wind.
Mm-hmm.
They talk about when he caught the dolphin the first time.
Yeah.
It just like it jumped because the dolphins were like jumping in onto the water and stuff, and he caught one when it was midair and brought it onto the ship.
He also had
Um,
to fight a storm by himself, right?
yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
they got caught in a hurricane, and he had brothers who had the same powers, but theirs wasn't as strong, or they couldn't control it as well, or something like that.
Correct, correct. One of his
Um,
brothers actually died to Anyano.
well, we gotta talk about that because even though like she's not a strong female character or whatever, she did have moments where she stood up for herself, where she did things that I think deserve some kind of recognition and respect. Like I don't know what the other podcasts were talking about. They probably just sexist, but
Well, they were
to
women.
me, she was strong in her own way. She just
Yeah,
also fit the role of a woman as well.
yeah.
It was like a fine balance, really. Um, but yeah, Isaac was his favorite child for whatever reason. He didn't fear Doro, and he could speak his mind without worrying about like repercussions.
Extent.
I mean, that's literally everybody with Doro, though.
Yeah. So he uh,
But
he he likes Anyano from the first time he sees her. I wish a part of me wishes like it had like a movie to this, so I can like feel what
me
they
too.
feel when when they see how she looks or whatever.
Mhm.
Because we talked about it slightly, but she could change her form from old to young, male to female. And we find out on the ship that she can turn into, well, nope. From before that, she could turn into like a jaguar.
Yeah, and she talked about um back in the villages when so we kind of did miss a lot of stuff. So in Anyanwu, before Doro came, she was a medicine woman or a witch doctor, if you want to say that instead. And what she would basically do in the villages was people would come to her with ailments or whatever, and she would heal them. Usually because she would have ingested some kind of herb. So she would remember like how the medical properties of that herb would work. And she would use her saliva or other things, or maybe she would look for the herbs again
Yeah.
and then create stuff to help them. And those cities, or I mean, villages that
Villages.
she was in were very profitable because of her.
Yeah.
Well, people also feared her because she's a witch doctor, so they would try and kill her.
Yeah.
So what she would do is enhance her senses, like make herself super strong or super. She could have super hearing, super sight. I guess it wouldn't be super. It would just be like
Enhance.
animal level.
Yeah.
Yeah. So whatever animal she like ingests, she
Mm.
could basically copy their traits in some way.
You know, I think that's a nod to like natives believe that like if you eat a lion's heart, you have a strong heart. If you eat something's eyes, you have better eyesight. I think it's a nod to that. Now that I think about it.
That's kind of deep. I didn't think about that at all.
Yeah.
But yeah, so in some stories, she talked about her trying to transform into a jaguar to defend herself from some people,
Yeah.
or she said one time she turned into a great snake,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of times she would turn into like an eagle and fly around and stuff.
Yeah.
So that's how she would defend herself. And she also talked about one time where she nearly died.
Mm-hmm.
Some people basically chopped her up really badly, but luckily she was able to heal herself in time
Yeah.
to not die.
Yeah.
I thought that was interesting too. Like, what would it take to kill her? Like, with all her knowledge about how to heal and stuff.
I think you have to distract her mind so much that there's like so much to do that it wouldn't be able to get done, or probably just stab her heart or decapitate her.
Well, she nearly died near the middle slash end of the book
Yeah.
of the first book.
Mm-hmm.
Well, she nearly died from the girl. You remember what I'm talking about?
Yes. Yes, I believe
Yeah,
so.
we'll talk about that after though. That's later on.
So now we're on the ship, and
We
she
should talk
gets.
about her. Sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead. Help me,
I,
help you, help us.
I was gonna say we should talk about when she nearly got molested. I guess from
Oh,
that
that's
crazy guy.
when she killed the guy. Well, there it is. That's a story. Well, she turned into the jaguar, and then she started to, I guess, devour him. But then that that act was getting so strong that she couldn't control it for a point, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think like for her, I think for anybody, whenever they use their powers too much,
Mm-hmm.
they get like drained.
Mm-hmm.
Like you know how like when we exercise or whatever, we get tired. I think it's kind of similar.
Gotcha.
But
Gotcha.
for them, like they need to like eat a lot to like
Mm.
recuperate the energy.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
So she had to transform into a jaguar really fast because that guy was basically mind controlling her.
Mm-hmm.
And she transformed so fast that she just instantly felt hungry and basically just started eating this
Yeah.
food.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh man.
Mm-mm.
And Dora was like, stop.
Yeah. But
And she's
yeah.
he kind of bluffed though. He kind of bluffed.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, he was like, oh damn earphones unplugged. If
I
somebody acting like they were gonna fight him, he would just do this.
open yourself.
Yeah, go ahead, do what you're gonna do.
Oh
Let's see what
man.
happens. Cause he know he can't get killed, he just take over your body.
Yeah. But he didn't want to
But
take over her body.
he couldn't when she was a panther.
He can't find. They can't find her. I don't know if he could kill her.
No, he can't kill. He can't transform his body into animals. Only
Mm.
humans. So whenever she transform into an animal, he can't do anything to her at all.
He can't even censor.
Yeah. So when she was a panther and he was like doing his little like, okay, attack me, let's see what happens.
Yeah.
She thought that if she attacked him, he would take her body over, but she didn't know that he couldn't do it at
Yeah.
that time.
Do you think he knew he
So I
couldn't
thought
do
that
it?
was a I think he had an idea, but I think because he's Dora, he was like, people don't know what my powers are, so they don't
Yeah.
know.
Well, he
I could
probably like,
just
I'll figure it
pretend.
out.
Yeah.
but so that's an interesting thought there. Like if he takes over her while she's a panther, he has her abilities, right? Because he has her body, basically.
No, he can't take her over while she's a panther. He literally can't. Any animal she turned into, he can't take her over. He have to wait till she turned back into a human.
Okay. But
And that's the next thing about his. Go
if he
ahead.
does take her over, can he then turn into a panther?
No. So
Mm,
whenever Doro take over somebody,
yeah,
he don't get any other powers.
that's wild.
Yeah, he just wears their body.
Oh,
The only thing he has is their genetics. He could pass on their genetics,
okay, okay.
which is why he would take over some bodies and then use that body to breed with other people and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Crazy.
You know,
And it's also go ahead.
it was weird thinking about this. Like compiling my notes as I went through my day. I'm like, why does he have to take over the body if they're gonna do what he says anyways? You don't have to be a part of that at all.
Yeah. The problem I think is that psychics they cause each other like interference. It's like when you have a mic close to the speaker and it make that loud screeching noise. I think like psychics have a hard time staying near each other. Some psychics. So he just take over the body so all that out like you don't have to worry about that.
Gotcha, gotcha.
And that's why like they don't like children. A lot of them don't like children
Yeah.
because children have too much like mental static.
What were you gonna say?
I was gonna say something, but I forgot.
Okay. So she turns into a dolphin next in
Yeah,
the
so
upcoming scenes.
Isaac caught a dolphin because they were literally starving. I think they were running out of food
Mm-hmm.
or their food was spoiling or something. So he started catching fish and other stuff. And he caught a dolphin because that was his favorite thing to eat, apparently.
Mm-hmm.
And she ate the dolphin, she analyzed the contents of the dolphin, and basically she could turn into the dolphin. So she wanted to try it because she never did it before.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And then she met a school of dolphin. I thought that was the best part of the book, actually. Like that
It,
was my favorite part
it
when
was
she lived with the
freeing.
dolphins.
Yeah, it was freeing.
Yeah, she lived with the dolphin. She even had a baby with a
You see,
dolphin, but that
no,
was
look
later
who
on.
fast forward. You gone
Okay,
to the
I go too far. I go
you
too
got
far.
to this three of the four with this set.
I
But
just
yeah,
thought that was so cool,
it
you
was.
know. But yeah, she turned to a dolphin and she was basically like checking it out. Dora didn't like it,
Yeah.
but he wanted to like allow her to do it because he didn't want to show that he didn't like it,
Hmm.
basically.
And you also want to give your people certain freedoms so that they could feel like, oh, I can do this.
Yeah. All right. So now we could get to the part where she nearly got, well, we already talked about the molestation. The guy was basically trying to mind control her because he had that kind of power.
Hmm.
Um, and apparently, sometimes when you go through transition, you kind of like become a little crazy. And he was kind of like a little crazy,
Yeah, yeah,
which is why Dora kept telling her, stay away from all my other sons. You could interact with Isaac, but leave the others alone.
yeah.
And he basically kept them separate from everybody because he knew like they
Hmm.
probably going to try and like do something evil
Yeah.
to somebody. And that guy was basically trying to get her to have sex with Isaac, who was unconscious at the time because he had overused his energy for the storm.
Yep, yep.
And then he wanted to do it with her at the same time. He was basically trying to have like run a train on her, basically.
Yeah.
And she was like, I ain't, no, that's not happening.
Hmm.
I might be a nice little woman who willing to abide by the rules, but no,
Yeah,
that's not happening.
yeah, yeah.
That's an abomination.
Hmm.
That's what she would have said,
Yeah.
probably.
Oh
But
man.
you know what she reminded me of when she said abomination?
What's up?
Is kind of like her word for like sin.
Yeah.
So I guess we could talk about Dora talking to her about marrying Isaac.
He tells her she has to marry Isaac because Isaac already likes her. They'll be a good match and their genes will, I guess, mesh together well.
Yeah. But what do you think about her relationship with Isaac though? Do you think she liked him or anything?
Eventually, after spending so much time with him and seeing who he was, I think she did. In the beginning, not so much. Then a little bit later on the ship, maybe. Like she started to feel for him because of the door situation, so she could empathize with him a little bit there.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think in my mind she always liked him, but she was like, I can't like him because he is Doro's son.
Yeah.
And basically I'm his mom.
Yes, and that's why she had such a hard time with the whole marriage situation and all his dealings after that.
Yeah. And then I feel like also too, she was like, I too old for him. Like I'm a grown ass woman. He's a little boy to me, even though
Yeah.
he was an adult.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was also interesting. Like you live for 300 years, everybody must seem like a child to you.
Yeah, that's true.
So you think if you live for 300 years, you would feel comfortable hooking up with, you know, normal age adults?
I mean, I would have no choice.
You
I
have a
wouldn't.
choice.
No. Well, I wouldn't feel anyway. No. By no choice, I mean like if I want to do something, it'll have to be with somebody.
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It'll just suck.
I don't think it would suck. I like to look at humans as like fruit,
Oh my
and it's
gosh.
like a period of time where you're not ripe, and then there's a period of time where you are ripe,
I'm not
and then
even
there's a
talking
period of
about
time
that.
where you too ripe,
I'm not
and
even
you need
talking
to
about that.
go sit down and mend some clothes or something. But I think that's how I would like look at it. Like, okay, this person is 21 or whatever age is consent age.
Mhm.
Well, not whatever age I choose, because I would probably choose 25,
Yeah,
and that's the person people I would go for.
yeah. I meant it would suck in having to start new relationships on a different level. You know, like
Oh,
start over, like life basically. Because yeah, if you live 300 years, you made it. You probably rich. You probably well off. So like, how do you find a regular person to interact with? You have to like get a job again, like pretend to have a job so you could meet people. You know what I mean?
mm,
Then if you find somebody, you marry them, they die, you start all over again.
yep. That's what basically happened to her. She would basically make herself young looking,
Hmm.
well, make herself her normal looking self, how
Hmm.
she normally looks, marry somebody, age with them, make herself age,
Yep.
keep them alive as long as she can if she liked them.
Yeah.
I think she mentioned only like one husband that she liked
Yeah.
before she married Isaac, and then he became the husband that she liked the most.
Hmm.
One husband that she liked a lot, and she didn't want him to die, so she kept him alive as long as possible. And she basically aged herself with him, except for at night, where she would turn back into her younger form to give him some
Uh,
suki
she
suki.
she need mega knees, you know. Oh man.
And then, um, yeah, I think she kind of like married like several times, she said, right? Like
Yeah.
she married several times.
Hmm.
And I think she's mentioned a couple of times where she tried being a guy and marrying women
Yeah.
and doing stuff with women and having kids. Oh, and that was the next thing. She
But
could only have girl children.
you fast forward a lot too.
Really? I thought that was in the.
'Cause
Oh
remember,
yeah.
Dora wanted her to do that, and she's like, I would never. Well, did she say never? She said she didn't want to do it because it's
No, he
abomination.
wanted to have sex with her while he was a woman and
Yes,
she was a man,
and
and
she
she was
said
like,
she
"That's an abomination."
exactly. And then fast forward when he left or whatever, and she was basically on her own. She would still do that.
Yeah.
I feel like we should move to Wheatley now, which is the seed village that Dora set up. Well, seed community,
The
and I feel like
settlement.
yeah, we should probably accelerate a little bit. I'm not sure. Like I don't want to like break down every single thing, but let's just give a good background.
Okay, let's fast forward for real because we do have to get to the second book.
Yeah.
So they get to Wheatley. She's married to Isaac. She loves Isaac.
Mm-hmm.
Isaac and her play around. He throws her up into the air using his powers and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes they go flying together. Very
Mm-hmm.
beautiful relationship.
Mm-hmm.
She kept him. He was like 100. He was probably like 200 years old before he died because of her. Well, probably not. Like maybe 150. Uh, what else happened? They had a child.
Yes.
This girl was supposed to be the first experiment, kind of like the predecessor to the book two.
Yeah.
She was born, she went through transition, she nearly killed Anyanwu.
Yep. Yeah, they killed Isaac too.
Oh, she did kill Isaac actually.
Oh yeah, she did.
And Isaac destroyed her by mistake.
Yeah, dude. But that's like self-defense.
He was barely conscious when he did it though, to be
Yeah.
fair.
Hmm.
And I don't think he would have done it because that's his daughter. I think he would have done he probably wouldn't have do anything. He probably would let her kill him,
Yeah.
to be honest. But he
Yeah.
was unconscious when he killed her.
Hmm.
Let's describe how he killed her because that was an epic.
Why you want to do that?
That was epic. It's not very much detail. He basically just threw her so hard into the roof that she just splattered, like
Yeah.
exploded pretty much.
Does Anyanu leave after he dies? Is that when she leaves and runs away?
That's when she turned to the dolphin and she went to live with the dolphins. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well, she was actually
She
many animals during that time.
yeah, she turned to eagle, fly to the sea, turned
Yeah.
to dolphin, live with the dolphins. And then eventually she came back because she was tired of I guess she wanted to be around her people again.
There's that pull.
Which is funny because she also felt the urge to be around her people.
And she also created a kind of community of her own,
Yeah, yeah.
which is
She started
something
taking in strays.
I wanted to talk about as well, which ties into the next book as well. People that Doro make often, well, the best of them, they do the same thing that he does. They collect people together. In Anyanu's case, it was for community, family, and then the second book will talk about why she did that. But it's like I think he passes on more than just the psionicness. Sometimes he passes along himself, like his thoughts or his need for surrounding himself with people that have these abilities.
Yeah, yeah. I could see that.
Yeah.
Or it could be that they have an innate need.
Hmm.
But it's like it's kind of that's the thing about a lot this whole story is like there's a lot of dichotomy. Whereas like
Hmm.
he's a guy who wants family, but they're also his food. She's a woman who is strong, but she's also playing the role of a woman. And then in this case, it's like psychics repel each other, but then they still want to be around each other at the same time.
Must be hard, man.
Yeah, it's like a lot of like give and take in these stories.
Yeah.
Um. Oh, the girl who died was Enwike. That's what her name. That's what's her name.
Yeah. Yeah.
Enwike.
Okay.
She basically had her mom's powers, but like she could put it external,
Hmm.
so she could heal other people using her psychic powers or cause them to be damaged.
Yeah.
And I think what happened was she severed her mom's arteries and stuff like that,
Hmm.
and basically destroyed a bunch of internal organs and stuff like that before her mom just like went into sleep mode basically
Yeah.
to heal herself. And then when Isaac came to see what was happening, she just we should talk about transition. 'Cause I think the problem was her transition broke her mind.
Yeah.
Like transition basically is when you're becoming when you're going into your powers, your brain basically opens up and start taking in everybody's thoughts, negative emotions, sexual desires, any kind of strong emotions basically. And
Yeah.
then you basically feel like you're that person,
Yep. Yep.
but you pick up the worst of the worst more often than not.
Hmm.
So like people getting murdered, you pick them up, their final moments, people getting tortured, children being born probably because that's
Probably.
probably a traumatic experience.
Yeah.
And you just like feel like you're them.
Hmm.
So if they die, you feel like you died, even though you're still alive.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of psychics lose their mind. I think that's why his son was kind of crazy and
Hmm.
evil.
Yep.
Um, it could break your mind, or you could transition fast enough, I guess, where you could keep your sanity intact,
Yeah.
like Isaac did.
Hmm. There's a lot
But
more
her
to this
daughter,
in the second book as well.
yeah,
Yeah.
her daughter, I think her mind broke right as she was coming out the transition.
Yeah.
So basically, she came out and she was just doing everything on instinct.
Hmm.
And she just started killing everybody around her, basically. Well, within reach.
Yeah.
So her mom was there next to her, helping her through transition. Immediately started attacking her, destroy all her internal organs and stuff like that, except for her brain, luckily.
Yeah.
Dad comes in, what's going on? boom, attack him.
Yeah.
Now he on the floor, dying, basically.
Yeah.
And then something happened. How she land on top of him?
I don't even know.
Yeah, something happened where she got thrown on top of him, and then he reflex react, threw her into the roof.
'Cause he was in pain already, and she fell on
Yeah,
him. Yeah.
yeah. Threw her into a roof. She bust like a pinata.
Dude.
And then Doro came in and was sad because his favorite son was dying.
Mhm.
And he begged Anyanwu to save him, which is which shows some of his like humanness. Because the whole book, you're like, this guy is not, he has no emotions.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But then he has these little brief moments where he shows emotions.
Mhm.
Which let's fast forward to the very end of the book so we can
Wait,
move on.
wait, wait, wait. I want to add that Enrique and Yanu had a bad relationship, right? Almost bad because all of
She
Doro's
was in love. Yeah.
progeny love him, which is weird.
They don't just love him, they want to be with him. Like
Yes.
they want to marry him, basically.
Yeah. But
Which is so
but
cringe.
but not really, because he's not really their father genetically. He's only their father based on who he is. Because he just takes the body. It's not actually him, but they still want
Yeah.
him.
Yeah. Yeah. They see him as a father at first, but then as they get older, they start seeing him as just another guy because he wears different bodies. It's hard to see him as the same person when he wears a
Exactly.
different body every time he comes to visit you.
Yeah.
Um,
I feel like that's wasteful in a sense, though, because he just discarding people basically, and these are
but
supposed
he
to
could
be.
live in a body for up to like, I want to say a few years, like maybe 4.
But I mean, like this is if you take the best of your people, eventually you know you're just gonna discard the body, and that's it's gonna be gone. So is the
Yeah.
usefulness only up until you procreate, or like you know what I mean? Like where's the usefulness stop?
Boom. That's something we should talk about.
Okay.
So Doro would basically breed his people, right? And Wiki, I mean, Anyanwu would keep trying to tell him like you need to be more like loving to your people. You can't just discard them once they finish doing what you want them to do,
Hmm.
which is what he would do. Okay, you breed 5 people for me, you're not useful anymore. I'm gonna take your body now.
Yeah.
And what happened was he was trying to punish her.
Mm.
So she set her up with this guy who was basically dirty.
Oh,
He
Thomas. Yeah,
was,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, Thomas. And he was kind of a latent.
Hmm.
He went through transition, but he didn't fully go through. But his genes was still good for Doro. Doro was like, I still want to pass on some of his traits.
Yeah.
But he was dirty, a drunk, and he was like, yeah, like who want that pee inside of them? Like it's just dirty.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But Anyan will clean him up,
Hmm.
get him to stop being racist because he was very racist.
Yeah.
Um, he started to actually start to love Anyanwu.
Mm.
And then Dora was like, this punishment not go the way I thought it was gonna go. I have another way to punish you now. Since you start feeling like you like this guy, I'm gonna take his body.
Yeah.
And then after that, I think is where she was like, that's enough. I'm done with this. I'm going to become a dolphin and
Yeah.
leave. I think
That's
that's what set her off.
that's crazy.
Yeah, Doro, basically his practice is once you no use to me anymore, I gonna kill you, basically.
Yeah.
And she didn't like that.
Yeah. Oh, there's one more abomination that happens. They make her drink animal milk, which she didn't
Oh
want
yeah, on
to
the
do.
ship.
Yeah.
She didn't know what it was. And she was
It was in
lactose
it was in the
intolerant.
food. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
She was lactose intolerant. I think they might have given her like some pies or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe a cheesecake. Because she did enjoy it. She was like, this food tastes good. And then later on, when she started to feel sick, and then she started to analyze what was making her sick, she was like, this is milk?
That's
That's
crazy.
nasty. That's an abomination. Yeah, she was pissed.
Yeah.
She was livid. She was like, don't give me no more food with milk in it.
Hmm. I think I talked about this already, but Doro's absoluteness was like annoying to me, just because I couldn't help the characters in any way, and I felt so many emotions reading this book. It's like I want to help them, but I can't because he's just so absolute. He told her,
Yeah.
"You're gonna be a man, I'll be a woman." She's like, "No." Then later in the book, it happened. Like, come on, man. And then it happened at
Yep.
will too. So it was like, no man, he just
I think
changed people.
I think that's the part about being immortal. You have kind of like patience because you know eventually whatever you want will happen
Yeah,
if you wait. And I think that's the next thing that Isaac was trying to tell him because
yeah,
he wanted to kill Anyanwu, right?
mm-hmm,
And Isaac was like, "You're immortal. Why kill her?
yeah,
Just be patient. Eventually, you guys gonna need each other."
yep,
Isaac was wise beyond his years, dude.
mm-hmm. He told
He
Anyanu
was,
basically the same thing as well. Try and help him be a better person. Well, a better thing.
yeah. He was like, "Both of y'all immortal.
Mm-hmm,
Y'all only have each other. Like, why y'all at odds with each other? Y'all need each other.
mm-hmm,
There's nobody else in this world right now who could live as long as both of y'all."
yeah,
So, yeah, I think Isaac was the goat. I really wish he didn't die.
yeah.
I mean, to old age, he eventually would have. But
Mm-hmm.
um, is there anything else we should say about this book before we move on?
Don't
The
like
ending.
Doro. Don't like Doro.
Let's talk about the ending.
Okay.
So this is the part where I teared up a little bit for Doro because he showed human emotion again.
Mm-hmm,
And basically, Anyanwu finally accepted Doro for who he was. She was like, I can't change you. I accept you as my husband. You know, I recognize that this is the world we live in, whatever.
yeah.
But I can't condone what you're doing.
Mm-hmm,
And I can't kill you. You're not going to kill me because I guess he started to love her now
yeah.
in his own way.
Mm-hmm,
And so she was like, I'll just end myself because basically she could just turn herself off, basically.
yeah.
Not sexually, I meant. I meant like
Her
stop
body.
living.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't think anybody thought that. Maybe, but I didn't think that.
I mean, I was turned off.
Oh my
But
gosh.
um so he she basically started teaching people how to make the herbs that she make, all her medical knowledge she was starting to pass on, getting her community ready to like
Live
be on
without
their
her.
own.
Mm-hmm,
Yeah, we kind of touched on this a little bit, but she started her own community separate from Doro once she came back from being a dolphin.
yeah.
And Doro found her, obviously. And
Mm-hmm,
he came there to kill her, but then for some reason he was like, I don't think I want to anymore.
mm-hmm.
And then they kind of had like a friendship ever since then, basically, where he just let her do whatever she want within reason, I guess, within his
His
reason.
reason, yeah,
And then she basically just ignored whatever he did as long as he left her alone and her people alone.
yeah,
And sometimes he would bring people to her community to like take care of
yep.
some of his problem people, basically,
Mm-hmm.
and she would take care of them. This one guy she took care of, they had to kill because he was a mind controller. It seems like people who control minds are usually evil in this book.
Yeah,
Um, he was trying to rape a little girl, and basically she had to kill him for that.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, in the end, she was going to shut herself off, and Dora was like, "Don't do it," basically
yeah.
begging, and everybody was telling her, "Don't do it," blah blah.
Mm-hmm.
Eventually, oh, and Dora didn't understand why she was doing it.
He just can't understand humans, dude. Like he can't.
This dude's so weird. I don't know why you upset.
But
She keep telling him,
yeah, like the thing is, like everybody tells you what the problem they're having with you is, and you never can. Even in the next book, you can never see it.
"Yep." He just clueless. Like he don't care. I
Yeah,
guess
yeah.
it kind of remind me of like a narcissist, kind of in a
Mm-hmm.
way.
Mm-hmm.
So she was like, "I already told you why you doing wrong. I don't like. I
Mm-hmm.
know I can't change you, but if you just stop doing certain things, I could probably accept you more." And he was like, "I don't understand. I don't understand." So she was like, "Don't worry about it. I
Yeah, yeah.
accept you for who you are.
I'm
I can
out.
just, yeah, I out though. Keep doing what you're doing. Keep doing what you're doing, Playboy."
Hold it down.
So
Oh my goodness.
yeah, then she was laying down in the bed, basically turning herself off, I guess, organ at one organ at a time. That
Mm-hmm.
was the longest shutdown I ever seen in my life. Like she could
Doo
have
doo
do
doo
it faster
doo.
than that.
Windows. Oh man.
Go to bed, try and convince her not to do it.
Yeah.
until eventually he started breaking down, my boy.
Yeah.
That's where I kind of felt it in my soul. I was like, damn, he breaking down.
Nope.
He was basically described it as he just started crying. I forgot how to describe it, but the way she described it, she wrote it very well.
He was weeping on her chest.
Yeah. But it's
Yeah.
also more like he like lost track of like even himself crying.
Mhm.
Like he was crying so uncontrollably that he woke up the next day, like didn't know what the heck happened. Like he almost blacked out pretty much.
Would you
And
describe that as a form of love?
definitely,
Okay.
I think that reminds me of like when I first started dating my wife and stuff. And there were a few times where I cried. It was very like overly emotional now that I think back on it, but like where we just like, oh, it is. We got in an argument earlier in the day, and now I just thinking about her all day, and I'm sad and like that kind of thing. I think that kind of stuff comes from love. Like obviously, he loved her. He started to recognize that she is maybe not his equal, but she's a companion that he could have forever if he needed. And I think he recognized that, and I think Doro really suffers from loneliness.
He does.
So he wants to build his family, and that's to suit his loneliness. But he realized that he have a person who he don't have to be lonely anymore because she gonna live forever.
Yeah.
And I think he realized that by the time she was going to shut herself off.
Gotcha. So you have any closing thoughts on this book before we hop into the next one?
Closing thoughts. So now we have Doro and Anyanwu reconciled. He changing his ways. He don't kill people anymore if they're not useful to him anymore.
Mhm.
And he kind of listens to her more, and he kind of becoming more human, but not really. That's
Okay.
the closing thoughts.
Some of the themes that were mentioned throughout the book was the power struggle between Anyanu and Doro, slavery, eugenics, culture, tradition, things like that. And I like the way that it was written, so you could make the parallels to like today.
Yeah,
And yeah, that's about it.
there was some stuff about patriarchy and Western modernity.
Hmm.
I talked about post-colonialism and neo-colonialism, which I thought was very nice that she said it in a time frame that's impactful and
Yeah,
kind of fit the theme of the of what was going on as well.
true, true.
And I also like these books because the characters are black,
Yeah.
and it's fun to imagine black characters, which is something that I don't often get to do.
Hmm.
Even though Isaac was white and I think the Thomas was white, there are a few obviously because of the slave trade.
Doro was often white as well
Yeah, he just did it because it was easier to live in America
as a white man.
because of racism.
Yeah.
He had to be white most of the time to like avoid having to kill people too much.
Mm. So maybe in his own way, he didn't want to kill. He knew that was the only way.
Yeah. All right.
All right, book
On to
closed.
book two.
All right, first question. Where is Anyanu?
Somewhere in, I want to say Los Angeles.
So Anyanu was in this book?
Yeah, she changed her name to Emma.
I had a feeling, but I was like, man, because I had Emma in the last book too.
Yeah, she changed her name at the very end of the last book. She
Okay.
said, I'm going to call myself Emma in this new country
Mm.
because it means grandma or ancestor or something like that.
It's now thinking back, it's so weird that such a strong character from the first book took such a big backseat in this one.
Hmm.
I mean, she was still there, still had the moments, but like it was like a backseat to the new character.
Yeah. Well, if you read the books out of order, it kind of makes sense because this book was mostly focused on the main girl, who I forgot her name.
Mary,
Mary. Yeah, it was mostly focused on Mary.
yeah. No, Mary. So one stark comparison between the books was the narration. There's a new narrator this time who I just love listening to. So like I took like a week and a half to listen how we use these other books to the first book. This book was done in 2 days. Like,
Yeah.
oh my goodness.
This book is, I think, shorter too.
I don't
to be
even
fair.
care about that. Cause the other book I would listen to like a paragraph and be like, all right, let me go do something else. But this book I was just there. Cause I feel like
Yeah, yeah.
the narrator had more of like a black voice, but I want to say it like that. But you know what I mean? Like I could just feel the characters better. And Mary was, I guess, what everybody wanted Anyanwu to be, a strong black characters. Maybe a little bit stereotypical, but that's the point. And that's what drew me in because she wasn't taking
Yeah.
anything from anybody.
Yeah.
Anybody
Not
catching
even
these
Doro.
hands. Anybody catching these
Yeah.
hands. Except Doro. You can't hit Doro. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, she did do something to him,
Yeah,
and
I
he was
know.
like, "Do it again, and you won't see what's gonna happen to you."
But she was a wild one. She was more the wild seed.
Yo, I did love her character a lot. I ain't
Yeah,
gonna lie.
yeah. So this book is called Mind of My Mind, and it takes place in Los Angeles, which is
Yes.
another theme that brought it all together as well.
Yeah.
So
So
go ahead.
this one looked at, I guess, living in the ghetto versus being like living um in high society. If you notice, a lot of his white children lived in high society, a lot of his
Yep.
black children lived in poor societies.
Yep.
And obviously, he provided money to them, but they still chose. Well, I wouldn't say they chose because of redlining and stuff like that. They probably didn't have a choice, really.
Oftentimes they just went back to it.
And oftentimes they went back to it because that's their family. And even though they didn't know that that's their family,
Yeah.
they had that natural pull.
Yep.
Do you think that's like true in general for humans? Like we feel a natural pull. I mean, I know we feel a natural pull to people who look like us,
Yeah.
but like, do you think that we are pulled to a family, like actual,
Blood.
like maybe blood relative?
I would say it depends on history as well, but I would still say yes because people would do you wrong in the past, but because they're family, they have a higher chance of actually like opening up to them again in the future because they're family. And somebody who's not family would just get like, "You're dead to me."
Hmm.
But sometimes family does stuff that makes you say you're dead to me anyways. So it's like it depends on the situation sometimes. But yes, that pull for family is always gonna be there because that's your family, that's home.
Yeah, I feel that. All right, so let's talk about the openings of this book. We have to do this book justice. We spent so much time on the last book. We have to spend
So
just
that's
as
why
much.
I wanted to make it, I didn't want to go through every single thing in the first book. But this book, you have a better memory of the book than I do. So you do the opening.
Yeah, let's start with the opening. So the opening is the mom. She
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Doro gave her money, put her in an upscale place,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
and she fled from the upscale place, went back to the ghetto,
mm-hmm.
became a prostitute and an alcoholic. Why?
Why? Because she was crazy. Because of her powers.
So she was a latent,
Yeah,
basically.
yeah,
Okay. So she was latent. She kept picking up static, I guess. And I think only alcohol and men could like allow her to be distracted from it.
yeah,
That's sad.
yeah. Very sad. But that goes to show what people do now to escape from their fear,
Oh,
their
shoot.
vices. Yeah.
You just made me think of something.
Mm-hmm.
Mental health.
Yeah. Basically.
Yeah. And people like, if you look at this scenario from the outside looking in, you would see this woman and you'd be like, why would she choose to be a prostitute? And you would judge, people would judge her and like look down on her and all this kind of stuff
Yep.
without actually fully understanding that she is trying to cope with something that's going on internally and
Yep.
she actually needs help, not judgment.
Lots of help.
And I think that's a major problem with society nowadays is that people are so quick to judge
Yeah.
and like almost be angry with somebody
Basically.
instead of like, let me try and figure out why they're doing this so I could help them.
Yeah. Like
Or
why
at
aren't
least
you able
figure
to
out
be
why it's,
strong? Why
yeah,
can't you
it's
be
like,
strong
oh,
like
you're not
me?
exactly. Oh,
So
you weak-minded. It's like,
yeah.
why?
Yeah,
You don't know that. You don't know it taking all their strength just to like not want to self-delete.
yeah. Yep.
And you over here with a normal brain,
Hmm.
you know, living life and you judging people. It's really sad.
Yeah, man, it is.
But that's what her mental issues kind of reminded me of that because nobody would choose to live in the ghetto over having a rich like a place like Dora gave her basically.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So she became a prostitute. Her daughter is 3 years old. Doro comes to visit. That's how the book opens up.
Yeah.
And he was like, I've been away too long. Oh, that's the next thing. Doro have like seed colonies all over the country, all
And
over
the
North America,
and the world too, right?
all over the world. But I think he tried pulling all his people into one
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
continent. So he had everybody in North America basically at that point.
Kind of mentioned different races like near the end, like yeah, different races of people that he brought, and he kept them separated.
Yeah, he kept them separated. But it's kind of interesting because he did it for a valid reason, but you could also look at it from a racial point of view as well.
Yeah.
It's like kind of like racism, like separatism in a way.
Mm-hmm.
But we know that he didn't do it for that reason. He did it because it's hard for people to get along with somebody who's not in their family as a
Yeah.
sidekick.
Yeah. I feel like this book had a better breakdown of almost everything that was going on throughout this series, and it makes me excited for the next book. I'm not gonna lie.
I ain't gonna lie, just to burst your bubble a little bit, the next book gonna be boring. I ain't gonna tell you right now.
Well, let's stay here then in this realm of funness. I think it's
At least for
because
me,
no, because the way this book went down, the next book would have to come higher than that. If it can't, it will be boring. Like I'm not gonna lie.
no. When I read the books in order
Yeah.
back in the day, the third book is the most boring one to me out of all of them.
Jeez.
The fourth one gets back to being good again, but the
Mm,
third book was I was like, bruh.
mm. Okay,
It
that's
was it gets good near the end, but it's
mm.
like the beginning and middle is like just taking so long to set up what's going on.
That's why I felt for the first book a little bit.
Okay, I feel that.
I never really got hyped for the first book at all. Like,
You might get hyped for the second book, the third book, maybe
okay, okay.
you might.
You want to fast forward to teenage years, like just after transition or just before transition?
Yeah, just before transition. So
Yes.
they're living with Emma now, who is Anyan Wu, under another assumed name.
Mm-hmm.
Dora put them to live with her because the mom need help, and Anyan Wu's a healer slash she's really good at helping people through transition.
Yeah.
I think at first Dora wanted her to help the girl go through
Mm-hmm.
transition,
Yeah.
but later on, I guess he changed his mind. Let's talk about that scene where she bossed this man in the head.
So one of the Johns comes to look for what's her face?
What is her face, Reina?
Reina. Yep, Reina. And he sees her and he's like, "Well, you're gonna have to do what?" Like,
Yeah, he was like, "Where's Rena? Is it Reina
mm-mm.
or Rena?"
I don't think it matters.
She's like, "Come back at 5, bro. She ain't here." He's like, "I don't care. She here. Where's she at?" She's like, "She's not here." He's like, "Well, you'll have to do then."
That's
She's like,
ridiculous.
"Nah, I ain't a prostitute. That's not me." He's like, "I don't care." Busting the house.
Oh my gosh.
I feel like that's also kind of like this story also to me gives like a little bit like description of society,
Hmm.
like male entitlement.
Mm.
Like, I feel like a lot of guys feel entitled to women's bodies.
Yep.
It's like, Miss, can I get your number? No. Well, frig you then, you ugly self. Like,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
like that
yeah.
weird visceral response from
Yeah.
being rejected.
Hmm. So he attacks her, she attacks back, and she, like I said, she don't hold back.
Yeah. Oh, before she even answered the door, she was already prepared.
Yeah, because I guess she could feel something bad was gonna happen.
Yeah, she picked up that
Yeah.
frying pan, boy. She had to behind her back,
Did she?
talking to him. Yeah. Mm-hmm,
Did he die or
mm-hmm.
was he just hurt?
No, I think they got him to a hospital.
Okay. Yeah. Let's drop him off.
They didn't really say if he lived or died after that, but I'm
Yeah.
gonna assume he lived.
Yeah. Yeah. But Emma and Rena were pissed, but like they were pissed, but they didn't even ask what happened.
Exactly.
which is
And
another.
that's another thing in society.
Yeah, exactly.
People don't even try and figure out why something happened. They just immediately get angry because you did something wrong.
And she had a kind of like a, like a dark-ish past where she was like a rebel. So like it's easy to assume that she just did it all on. But then I guess Anyanu recognized what happened after she actually listened to her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the girl nearly got raped. She finally told them after they berate her for like several paragraphs, they were just cussing her out, asking her how she could be so stupid,
Yeah.
reckless, blah blah blah. And Yanu did not mention anything about abominations this whole entire book. So I guess the other podcast felt happy about
Mm,
that.
mm,
And when she realized what was happening, Anyana was like, okay, I understand, kind of.
yeah. Then Doro comes.
Then Doro comes and
Here comes
he didn't
Doro.
care.
Yeah.
He was like, you should just let him do it.
That's so
Because
ridiculous. But he explained
yeah,
why. He explained why in such a. It's weird, but it's like it's like a loving way again. That
yeah,
he drove her to near a prison, right?
yeah, outside of prison.
And that static was going crazy.
Yeah, she was dealing with all of their negative emotions and thoughts and
Mhm.
all kinds of stuff. And Dora told her this thing that really like it didn't really send chills, but it was very deep. He was like, you can't handle all of that. These people live with those thoughts all the time and they're just fine.
Mhm.
That was intense. It's like,
Yeah, you can't
and
live in
that
there.
again goes back to talking about mental health again. It's like people struggle with these things in their head
Hmm.
every day, and outside they look normal,
Yep.
and you don't know what's going on inside of them.
Yeah, and sometimes they live in know. It's like a latent
Sometimes they
thing.
don't even know.
Yeah.
Yeah, because people compartmentalize so much. It's like I worry about money, but I don't have time to think about that because I need to put food on the table.
Yeah, exactly. And then it's just there, just nagging, and you don't know what it is. And then I get chills now thinking about it because like what we do in everyday life. Like,
Yeah,
you have all these things to worry about, but you don't have the time to even break them down or tell anybody most of the time. And it's just, you're going about and you feel normal, but you're not. Your mind
yeah.
is not normal.
I did not look at chat this whole time,
Oh, it's all good.
but I appreciate him for coming through though. That was
Yeah,
cool.
yeah, yeah.
Um, Thank you for keeping track.
Always.
Um, yeah, so she basically started to go crazy because of all the thoughts coming in. And that kind of reminded me of when they go through transition as well. She was like pre-transition still, right?
She was.
And she was already picking up the static. And
Hmm.
I think that's how Dora knew she was going to be strong. That's how he could tell if they're going to be strong because before transition, if they already having kind of like powers,
Yeah.
he's like, yeah, when they go through transition, they're going to be, if they survive, they're going to be good.
To clarify, I don't think latents go through transition. They just have that latent ability. They don't even get to start transition.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, you might be right.
Cause the way you said it was like they got stuck, but like they didn't even go through it yet. But this book, with
Mm,
its greatness, will break that down for you.
yeah, yeah,
Oh my
yeah,
goodness, I want to stop now. Like,
yeah.
but after that, he takes her to the jail. She gets static. Then he tells her, no. He makes her feel beautiful. Buys her clothes, get her all kind of stuff. Cause
He gave us some wood.
he about to bring the hammer down.
Yeah.
You gonna marry somebody when? 2 weeks. You have time.
Better enjoy all this stuff now.
Oh, it's not even that. It's like, how do you tell yourself I'm gonna marry somebody that I don't love because she loves him
Yeah.
in 2 weeks? Like, you have time to deal with these emotions. Go ahead, you could.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I
That's
have
great.
thousands of years to deal with my stuff, but you have a couple weeks. You good?
That's crazy.
Yeah, that's
So
wild, man.
she is pre-transition. So the reason that he's marrying her to this guy is to help her get through transition, correct? To help her
Yeah,
understand what she's going to be.
yeah,
Boy, she gonna be something.
yeah. So he pairs her up with his son, one of his sons. What's
Carl.
his name?
Carl Larkin.
Earl?
Carl.
Carl. Okay. That's an ugly name, by the way. I hated reading his name or hearing his name in my earphones.
But the thing about
Carl.
Carl is basically almost already married, but there's reasons for that.
Yeah.
You could break
Carl
it down.
could control minds.
Yes.
He's a mind controller, which means he's probably evil.
And it's like the mind is controlled so strongly that the person thinks that those thoughts are their thoughts. Because they plant what I don't forget what they call it, but they plant a thing in their mind.
They call it conditioning,
Yeah.
which is crazy.
Yeah.
Because if you think about conditioning or like grooming and stuff like that and normal in like normal context
Hmm.
is like taking somebody like maybe a child for instance and basically making them into something that you want them to be. And we talk about predators doing this often.
Hmm.
So it's kind of crazy because in this book the people who could control minds kind of do the same thing.
Yeah.
They basically turn people into slaves
Hmm. So he already
who think that
has,
they want to do it.
yeah, he already has a girlfriend who's, I, she's in love with him, but I guess it's not because she actually does love him. But
Yeah, he didn't condition her until
not
later.
fully.
No, he never conditioned her. I think he said like he wanted to like he was getting bored with them too quick when he would do it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So,
Okay. Yeah, she wasn't
so
happy about it, but she had no choice because it's Doro. He's still absolute, even in this book.
oh yeah, yeah, yeah. So he didn't have a choice,
Yeah,
and the conditioning he did to his current girlfriend was just make her not get jealous.
yeah. That's what I meant. Like, it's like slight things here and there. But
Yeah,
she kind of understood later on what her role was meant to be. And she just
yeah,
went along with it.
yeah. He conditioned her to not get jealous and to not get angry. That's two things.
Yeah.
Um, Also, his relationship with Mary at first, is it Mary?
Yeah, Mary.
Okay, I keep forgetting names. Mary at first was like not good, but then it started to slowly get better.
Yeah. He
Mary's
was,
a firecracker.
yeah, basic. I love it.
She busts in there like, I gonna beat this white boy up. Dora was
Man.
like, you better not do that. He could
Yeah.
control your brain. And
Hmm.
Dora was like, don't control her brain though.
Yeah. That's crazy. So, they formed that rapport and then I guess can go to transition. That's fine.
Yeah, yeah.
She
Let's fast forward the
she
transition.
goes through transition and then, oh no, I can't just say and then. Like, this transition was not like any other transition there ever was. Like,
Yeah. So Carl was basically helping her go through transition by acting as like a shield.
basically, yeah.
And then Dora was like, stop doing that. Or like do it, but like wait till she like can't
Yes.
help herself anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But he had a hard time not doing it. And I think partially because of her abilities.
Mm-hmm.
I remember he keeps saying like I kept getting drawn in even though I thought I was separated.
Yeah.
I think it was because of her abilities, but it wasn't fully realized yet at that point.
Yeah. And then I guess coming towards the end of her transition, she reaches out, or the pattern as it's called now, connects to what, five other people?
Yeah.
Yeah. Who all have a role to play in this book later on. But initially, that is what I like about this book. It's written the way that I like to read. So yes, you could tell me who somebody is, but then tell me in a different way. So every time Octavia brought in somebody else, they already were doing something up until the time the transition happened. Like, oh, like what's this pull that's pulling me? And that's everybody that was done to.
Yeah. My favorite was the guy who was basically mind controlling a whole entire community. And then
She,
he get his ass whooped.
yep, because he got pulled right when the punches come in. That's crazy,
Although to be fair, he did practically kill that guy afterwards.
man. All right, so we have Clay, a latent who pushed into transition. Seth's brother has psychonic ability. So we have Seth and
Mhm.
Clay. We have Rachel, who's a healer. and she was like an evangelist, right?
Yeah, she basically would be a faith healer, but she would actually heal people.
Yeah, and she heals almost like a Nyanwu does, but she could do it for other
Mm,
people.
mm, not really.
You know?
I think she heals like a little different. I don't know how to describe it, but I think she like pulls normal people's or anybody's
Mm-hmm.
psychotic energy
Mm-hmm.
and then uses it to heal people like that kind of way. In
Okay.
terms of Anyanwu, I think obviously they must be related,
Mm-hmm.
but I
They're all
think
related.
instead of yeah, technically,
Yeah.
I think instead of turning her powers inward, she turns it outward.
That's what I meant. Like she could heal like Nanyanu, but not
Okay,
just
gotcha, gotcha.
herself. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And then we have Jesse. I think that's who you were talking about. The other firecracker who was just his story was fun. Like the whole community knows if Jesse's around, whatever he wants, he gets. But like this guy that was not from the community was like, why? And then
Yeah.
it turned into a fight, and then Jesse almost lost.
Well, yeah, he
Well,
almost
he
did lose.
lost round one.
Yeah, he lose round one epically.
Yeah, he
And
did.
the guy probably thought, oh man, this is easy. Why did he even pick this fight? He just second blow, boop, bop, boop.
Yeah.
The whole community watching, like, wait, Jesse losing?
Mm.
The heck is going on?
And then we have Jan. I
I
think
like Jan a lot.
Jan had the saddest story, right?
Yeah, well, I don't remember all their stories. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah.
While I was listening to this story, I fell asleep and
Oh
I
my
missed
gosh.
a big chunk.
Mm.
Like after she brought them all into the house,
Yeah,
I might be fast forwarding.
you are.
I was listening to like them basically plotting to kill her and stuff.
Hmm.
And then I fell asleep. And then I woke up after they were all already like,
A family.
yeah.
Okay, I guess
So I have to go back and listen to it again.
I'll break it down a little bit from what I remember.
What was Jan's story though?
Jan had kids that she couldn't be around, so she conditioned people to take care of her kids for her. And
Oh,
one
okay.
of them passes away, unfortunately, and she's upset about it because Doro told her to make sure she protects the kids, and she did it.
I mean, she did.
Well, she
It was an
couldn't,
accident.
but not in Dora's eyes. He let
Yeah,
her down,
Doro.
basically.
He don't give a F.
Now, we talked about Jesse. Rachel was the evangelist, and then Seth. Seth is the one who's part of the pattern, but his brother is a latent,
Yeah,
and
Clay.
he couldn't be around anybody, so he was trying to give him like a place to stay in the community, and probably find a woman that Seth would probably condition to love him.
Yeah.
Later on, Clay becomes active, as they're called, and we're gonna talk about
Yeah.
that soon after we talk about their whole coming together and whatnot. So that's basically the
I found
backstories.
I found Seth and Clay's story to be kind of heartwarming
Yeah, it was.
because I don't think most like people stay with their siblings or stay with people in general.
Yeah.
But he was willing to stay with his brother and basically act as a shield
Hmm.
sometimes.
Yeah. And that word
I thought that
shield
was
is
really sweet.
important because it comes a lot in the book.
Yeah.
It's basically you can shield yourself from people and you can shield other people from outside. And that's how you help someone get through transitions. You shield them from some of the thoughts. But this was mentioned in the other podcast as well. I feel like transition has to go its complete way to get somebody to be what they need to be. It's like helping a butterfly get out of a chrysalis. It's probably gonna die because it didn't take that time to actually come out on its own, basically.
That's a good analogy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And also I think Dora told Carl
Mm-hmm.
about that. Like he was like, basically the longer they stay in transition,
Mm-hmm.
because you keep shielding them, they're gonna
Mm-hmm.
take longer. And the longer it takes, the higher chance that they're gonna die or go crazy.
Yeah. So everybody's pulled to Mary for whatever reason, well, the pattern, and they cannot
Let's talk about that. Let's talk about
ignore
that.
it. Yeah.
Let's talk about the mental image of how it looks. Because I
It's,
like that a lot, like how she described it.
it's like a web almost, and you could see the
Yeah,
strands from person, well, from her to each person.
yeah. And she described it as like a kaleidoscope of colors,
Mm-hmm.
but like in a strand as well.
Mm-hmm.
And in the middle, she's like a sun, like a small sun with these strands coming out.
Yeah.
And the strands could like stretch really thin or they could be like normal. And I really like that like mental image of it, like
Yeah.
picturing it.
You see what I mean? Like this book had she had time to fix her mistakes from the first book.
But technically, this book came before the other book in
Re-
terms of like her writing it.
what happened, Octavia?
Yeah, I don't
She
know.
let herself go. Man. But yeah, she's connected these people through the pattern that it came to be called. They cannot ignore the call. So basically,
Yeah,
she's mind controlling them. Not not really, but like a part of her is
passively.
pulling a part of them, and they can't block it out, and they can't ignore it no matter what they do. Like they would try
Oh, we should,
certain things, and like it would just they'll stop and do it.
yeah, we should talk about the shielding because she completed her transition from putting up her own shield,
Yeah.
and Carl was trying to teach her how to pull up a shield
Mm-hmm.
in the times when like she was, I guess, the comms
Yeah.
like in between her picking up all the stuff. Sometimes it would be moments of calm,
Mm-hmm.
and in those times he would try and teach her how to pull a shield up,
Yeah.
but for some reason she just couldn't figure it out
And then
until
eventually she gets the ultimate shield.
yeah, she got an ultimate shield. Her shield is the strongest in the whole story
Yeah.
because nobody could break in basically,
Unless she lets
and
them
she
in.
could break into theirs without
She
even trying.
she not even breaking. It's just like it's not even there for her.
Oh yeah, it's like a little cord going through their shield that she has access to, so
Mm-hmm.
nothing they could do.
Yeah, that's what
Um,
I like the fact that if you believe that she was lying, she would just be like, "Here's the truth," and it's like no words needed.
yeah, it was like it could be like a one-way or two-way connection, right? If she wanted to be.
Yep.
I really this is. I agree with you. This is the best freaking book, dude.
I
It was
know.
so like descriptive and everything. Um, but I think at the end of her transition, she put up the shield. Reflectively, she shoots out her little tendrils, pulling the five strongest people around the state.
Country.
Was it all in the same state?
Rachel's from New York.
Okay,
It's a
all around the country then.
yes,
Then basically she started to feel ownership of them.
kind of.
Yeah. And they didn't like that. So all of them resisted in their own way at first. And then basically it was described as them like attacking, but their attacks was affecting themselves more than anything else.
Yeah.
So eventually they just it was like she threw a Pokeball and they were like in there like you've caught whatever. That's pretty much what it was.
Oh, but before that, Dora was trying to tell her, trying to teach her actually as a father figure how to take care of people that belong to
Uh,
you.
how to
Remember
be a
that?
good slave owner.
Yes, basically.
Yeah.
Which I felt was, I feel like this book actually made me feel what you felt for Dora a little bit. I still didn't like him, but like, oh, look at him. He's trying, help her out, help her get ready for this. And then later on in the book, we're going to find out, blah, 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 blah. But I like that
Yeah.
he did that. He tried and tell her, hey, this gonna happen. They're not gonna like it. You need to do this or you need to do this. And she was like,
Yeah.
I'm Mary. I'ma do me. And she did. Like,
Yeah. She did not do anything he told her, pretty much.
she did not let me down. So I guess we could
Hey.
say they all came together. They all met up.
Mhm.
Is that
Mhm.
when they had the big altercation? No, it wasn't.
Not yet.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah,
when they first came, well, actually, we should talk about her own husband. He was upset with her
yeah.
just as they was about to start getting along.
Mm-hmm.
Then this happened, and now he's pissed with her because he's like, "Let me go," and
Mm-hmm.
she's like, "I would if I could.
Yeah.
I don't know how."
It's another power struggle. He lost his
Yep.
power over her. Well, he not power over her, but he lost his power as a husband or like the male.
Hmm.
And he didn't like that at
And he
all.
lost potential power because maybe he could have had an opportunity to be like mind control her or whatever, but
Mm,
now he has no chance at all.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Which is another interesting thing. If you're a person who could control minds,
Mm-hmm.
obviously you get bored with people who like obviously you could manipulate them, do whatever you want.
Yeah,
So you would think that you would get along more with people who you can't control, right? Because They're always going to be unique. You can't tell what they're going to do.
Mm-hmm. But
Which
you
another
still need that
question,
control though.
which raises another question. God must be bored as hell if you know everything that's going to happen. Like there's no
Yeah.
like
You
anything new.
yeah.
And I guess maybe not because we have free will. So I guess we're the
No, but
ooh, the humans did that. Let me send a quick flood, stir things up.
nah, I think he knows the past, present, and future, so this free will doesn't matter in that case.
That's what I was saying too. But my wife and I had a big argument about that where she was like, no, free will still exists. And I was like, that's impossible.
Yeah.
But I just let it go because I was like, this is a waste of time.
Well, maybe it's subjective, but it does exist to us. But the outcome is already known.
Yeah. Um, so Doro gave her some talking points, don't tell them that I'm giving you authority, just take authority.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the only advice that he gave her that she needed really.
Because she kept trying to say it was Doro's fault
Yeah.
for what happened. Well, it is, but he
Yeah.
didn't want that blame cast on him.
Yeah. He was telling her like don't do that because then you basically saying that you don't have no power and
Mm-hmm.
that they should reference to me and that you're just a side piece in this scenario when you're actually the one in charge. It's like if I'm a manager, if I'm the owner of a store and I
Mm-hmm.
make you the manager, and instead of being
Mm,
the manager, you keep coming back to me to let me tell them what to do.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Like obviously they're not going to respect you because you keep coming back to me.
yeah, yeah. I feel that.
I want to talk about something else before that, before we move on though.
Mm-hmm.
Doro experiments.
Yeah.
So basically, she's what he was trying to create this whole time.
Mm-hmm.
I think the experiment is that he's trying to figure out a way to bring his people together,
Yeah.
people who are not in the same family, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, did they talk about the race of the people who she brought together? Were they all like black,
Uh,
white?
I don't remember them going into much detail about that. Jan Cho, her last name is Cho, so I figure she was Asian, of some Asian descent. And the others, Jesse seems like he
Well, you
might
know,
be white.
Jesse have to be white. He
Yeah,
have to
yeah.
be.
Clay and Seth might be black. That sounds like black names.
Yeah, this they definitely black. They definitely black.
And then
Yeah.
Rachel, I guess I don't know what she is.
I think the who's the faith healer? I think she black too.
Rachel.
I think she black. Um, because of how they described the church and when she was talking to the guy at the church and
Mm.
stuff, that sounded very black,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
how
yeah.
they were interacting. Um, yeah, so his experiment, he been doing this experiment for so long, trying to get people together,
Mhm.
but he kept failing because basically they would turn into what and Wiki was,
Yeah,
where she would just kill people around them. Oh, they described that actually, didn't they?
yeah,
About how he created somebody like Mary before, but she would latch onto somebody, bring them in. They would kind of resist the urge to be near her. They will come in, and then basically they would just sap their life force over a long period of time,
yeah,
basically. And then
yeah,
that person would die. Then they would latch onto another person, bring them in, and repeat the process
yeah,
forever. So one, it would kill Doro's food, and two, it wasn't exactly what he wanted.
yeah. Man,
So in a way, she was successful. She was a successful experiment.
but I don't want to spoil. But like, eventually it'll be too successful
Oh yeah. Oh
indoors.
yeah. We get in
Yeah,
there.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
We're getting there. We're gonna be here till 4 because I have to talk about this. So so Doro, okay, now everybody's in the house.
Mhm.
They all upset at her.
Mhm.
How does she get them to like stop being upset with her? Because that's where I fell asleep.
You fell asleep in like the action part, like one of the biggest action parts there is. So,
Yeah, I did.
they're all doing okay-ish at this point, but she has to talk to them about the pattern and what she discovered about the pattern so far. So
What did she discover?
they they can't leave her. They have to be stuck here with her because as actives they can tolerate each other to an extent. They still want to leave, but in their case they can't leave because they're tied to her. So she's trying to tell them, "Well, I'm in control now. Like I'm basically gonna be the stand-in Doro I'm in control of the pattern, so you guys have to listen to me. You guys have to stay here within this community and find jobs and hobbies and things to do to occupy yourself because you can't just be in the house just bitching at me the whole time.
Yeah.
So they don't like that. And Jesse, obviously, being the firecracker that he is as well, stands up to her and he's like, okay, we can't leave her. She can't let us go. We have to take her down. So at this point, the different people that came together have relationships together. So he was in a relationship with Rachel. So he wanted Rachel to help him get to her. But wait. Yeah.
Oh, they were trying to like organize a mutiny, basically.
Basically at that point. But I was trying to figure out if she and Rachel spoke before that, and I think they did because
Oh, they did.
she could heal herself like Rachel could heal. Because she went in the mirror, she cut herself, and she healed it back up, and Rachel saw that.
Oh, wait. That was an important scene because
Yeah.
somebody was injured, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Rachel healed them. How did they get injured though? I
I
don't
remember.
remember.
I don't care.
It doesn't matter. Rachel healed them, and
Mm-hmm.
then she was paying attention to what Rachel was doing through the pattern,
Mm-hmm.
which was so cool because she could like anything anybody in the pattern is doing, she's aware of.
Yes.
She could read their thoughts, she could know what they're doing, she could
Mm-hmm.
read their emotions
Mm-hmm.
through the pattern without having to like break through their shield to do it.
Yeah.
And they don't know that she's doing it, basically.
Yeah. They can't censor.
So when Rachel was healing the person, she was basically observing what Rachel was doing.
Yeah.
So that, and then she was like, I wonder if I could do that.
Mm-hmm. She went and
And
tried.
then yeah, then she cut herself so she could see if she could do it,
Yeah.
which is dangerous because what if she couldn't do it?
Rachel's right there.
Rachel didn't like her though. Rachel had been like, should make it
Dora
worse.
Dora wouldn't let her die.
True.
So Jesse tried to start a mutiny. So he, Rachel, and I guess Jan, because Jan didn't like her at all, because Jan wanted Carl. So the three of them stand up
Ooh.
to her because Carl was like on her side, trying, as Dora told him to be, and as he wanted to be, because he kind of loved her at that point. And then Seth didn't want no smoke because he was just
He
chilling.
didn't want no drama. And
Yeah,
Clay didn't want no drama, and Clay was like, Seth,
yeah,
don't
yeah,
participate.
yeah.
Yeah.
So Jesse tried to attack her, and I guess through the pattern, she like put him down basically.
Yeah. She just basically sucked his life force a little bit
Yeah, and
without
then
killing him.
I think she did the same thing to Rachel because Rachel thought that he was dead because he was so unconscious.
Yeah.
Yeah,
She has to give her a little bit calm down juice,
yeah, like
basically.
here's the thought, he's not dead, just calm down.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
she also sucked some life from her too because she had to.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then in that, she felt what Doro feels when he kills. That
Yeah.
euphoria from taking in somebody's force.
Yeah.
And I feel like that what Jesse did created what happens next throughout the book. Because I feel like if she never felt that, maybe she'd just been like just chilling. But now she had that
Yeah.
taste. She wanted that taste
Yeah.
some more.
She described it as like having an appetite, but not necessarily needing to eat.
Mm-hmm.
And that reminds me about Clay. So this whole time, Clay being ignored, right? But remember before when he was on the farm with Seth, because Seth bought the whole farm for him, away from everybody,
Soul, but yeah.
stole, because he could mind control,
Yeah.
which is crazy. Everybody who could mind control, they just seem to all be thieves. They don't.
They just making life easier for themselves the best way they know how.
So Carl, I mean, what is his name again?
Play.
Clay seemed to be living just fine amongst these people
Yeah.
this whole time. Like we didn't hear nothing about him again
Yeah.
until a little later.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if like he was already reaping the benefits from the moment he got there, because even though he always picking up all this static and stuff, and Seth would shield him,
Yeah.
it didn't seem like Seth was having to work as hard as he had to before to help.
Remember, everybody here is shielded because they're trying to protect their thoughts from each other. So I guess
Mm.
he wasn't picking up anything from them.
Not from them, but what about the neighborhood and the
But he was
surrounding
mostly
city
in
and
the house. I feel like his thing has to be do with proximity. I think most of them do that with proximity.
Yeah, which kind of makes me think about what I wonder what the proximity is because his brother had to basically get him a farm in the middle of nowhere
Exactly.
to be far enough away.
But I think that's just a safety precaution, though. I think.
Uh,
Yeah.
mm. Also, I think too, like it also depends not only on proximity, but what kind of thoughts are there.
Yeah.
Because he was going to get him a caretaker.
Hmm.
Obviously, that caretaker have to have not bad thoughts, or else it would still affect him anyway.
But wouldn't that just make her not think like that at all?
He said he was going to make the person in love with him.
Yeah, exactly. So she'll have no negative thoughts. She just feel like this is life.
And what's messed up, you could control other telepaths as well, can't you?
I think to an extent, yeah.
Because he would go and program his own brother to
Mm,
love the girl back.
yeah.
That's crazy.
But at that point, he's still a latent. He doesn't have any ability to shield himself or protect himself.
Yeah. I wonder, like, if two psychics get into a fight and they both command control, is
Yeah,
it just like whoever breaks the other person's shield wins?
I believe so.
Oh, that sounds fun. Not fun to actually do because I would not want to participate, but sounds fun to watch.
Yeah. Well, you wouldn't see it.
Well, you wouldn't see it, but like if you could see it
Yeah,
mental,
yeah,
like through
yeah.
the mental
It
thing.
kind of look like in Dragon Ball Z when like the enemy and a good guy send a beam together and like they're doing this.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So they're all in the house. She watched the girl heal. She healed herself. The what's her name? The name of the woman again?
Which one, Rachel?
Rachel. Rachel realized something is up.
Yeah,
Like, how you heal yourself, or what are you doing?
yeah,
You could read our minds through the thing. And then she basically admitted it. She was like, yeah, I can.
yeah. I don't
I
think she was
think Dora's
supposed to.
she wasn't supposed to tell them.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And then after that, that's when the fight began.
Yeah.
Because Rachel told everybody.
During the
And
argument, yeah,
yeah, and then they were like, nah, if you could see everything I doing,
yeah.
that's not fair, basically.
Hmm.
And then at some point, she opened herself so they could read her mind, right?
Well, that's like by showing them the truths of what she can do about the pattern and things like that. But just little bits. The only
Yeah.
person she fully opened up to was Carl, which comes later. But I think after the fight, everybody just starts to like chill out. And then I think Clay happens next.
Oh, how did Clay transition? Did she have to read his mind or something first?
She kind of pushed him through, and I'm having trouble remembering how.
If I remember, at least later on when she started recruiting everybody, she had to at least like read their mind or something first
Yeah.
before she could find that little thread.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so let's talk about that before
Yeah.
we talk about Clay a little bit.
Okay.
So when she connected everybody in the pattern, it like looks like a thread to them, right?
Mm-hmm.
But when she connects to a latent, it looks like a faded thread.
Mm.
So like I imagine it as like balls of like little
Yeah.
energy threads,
Yeah.
and then this one is like a energy thread that looks like is missing big chunks of it. That's how I kind of imagine it, and look kind of like dim.
For me, it was like comparing twine to like yarn. So like
Ah,
the thickness.
yeah,
Yeah. So like, isn't a movie somewhere where you have like there's tiny threads connecting people together, but that's why I figured it out as like somebody who's a latent has like a tiny twine going towards them, and she can just
yeah,
amplify it, and then boom.
yeah. I
Yeah,
wonder, does she draw from the actives to then push it into the latent, like that kind of way? You know what I mean?
that could be possible.
Dude, this book is amazing.
It's
Good
even better.
lie.
It's even better with somebody else, right?
Yeah, can you go theory craft about it?
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, didn't he like drop away from the pattern after he transitioned? If I remember correctly.
Not really, because you can't.
I thought he became like
He
a
became
telekinetic.
in the yeah, he was telekinetic, but he oh yeah, because he's no longer in the pattern. Yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah,
think
yeah,
only
yeah, yeah.
people. I think only telepaths could be in a pattern.
Yes, true, true. So they didn't know what he was gonna become, and then he became it, which happens to a lot of people. And then he's free. I mean,
Wait,
he was always free.
was Emma in the pattern?
Anyanu?
Yeah.
No.
Oh, I could have swear she was in the pattern.
She's a healer. She's not a
Yeah.
telepath.
But her mom was in the pattern though. The
Yeah.
girl.
Jirena.
How did she get in the pattern?
Try push her through.
Oh, she became active?
I don't remember. I think she went and talked to her about it. I don't know. I didn't like
That would
her
be
her
so
mom that
nice.
much. Yeah.
Neither me, but it'd have been so nice if she was like, I'll just make you into active so you could stop having to deal with all the stuff
Yeah.
you deal with.
I think that's what happened. But I know for sure she couldn't help helping people after that. She had the
Yeah.
same kind of thing that Dora was doing, but in the comparison, it was a lot better.
Yeah. She needed to like feed, for
Yeah.
lack of a better word,
Yeah.
but her feeding was symbiotic
Hmm.
rather than parasitic.
But she didn't even know about what she was doing on a deeper level. He was like, Dora was like, "You're doing the same thing that I'm doing. You're collecting everybody that you need to feed off of into one place."
Hmm.
And then she realized that after a while. But
I
he
want.
only he only told her that to try and like make her stop doing it because he didn't want to do it anymore. But go ahead.
I wonder how was her thing symbiotic though? Like I know she would passively feed off of everybody's energy, even when she wasn't actively sucking it out to them. I think she was still like getting some like little
Yeah.
trickles from everybody.
Hmm.
But how was she helping them? Like, was
I
she making it easier for them to stay around each other or something?
think that's what it was. I remember latents couldn't stay around each other, and actives didn't like each other that much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So she made it easy for them to basically build a community because now instead of repelling each other, they could actually be near each other without
Yeah.
too much fuss.
And I guess we can talk about she had a recruitment thing going on where she would try and find latents all over the country, bring them together, um, mind control the
Oh,
parents. Yes, go ahead.
we missed stuff. We missed
Okay,
stuff.
what's up?
Everybody had a role,
Oh yeah,
right?
that's during the whole thing.
Oh, okay, okay.
It's called seconding when you'd bring a latent in to be active, and no one
Okay.
liked doing it.
Really? Why?
I guess it was just a stressful time, so thing to go through to have to like take somebody through transition.
Oh, and shield them and stuff.
Yeah,
Got it.
but there were some actives that were not good either. Sometimes, remember Hannibal,
Yeah.
the one of those killing people, so they had to be
She had to-
yeah.
What
Take,
what was his powers?
I don't remember, but he was not a good person. He was doing, I think he was killing people.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So she would basically kill those who didn't abide by the rules. She was
yeah,
basically just like Doro, but
yeah.
not as evil.
Hmm. So I guess Jesse was the hitman basically, because that's what he was doing. And then Jan, who was like the black sheep, actually learned she had a different kind of ability. You remember that one?
Oh, the telemetry or whatever it's called.
Yep.
Yeah, I like that power. That was a cool
Yeah, I
power.
like that too, man. You could just touch a painting and you could go back to actually see who painted it and what they were feeling and things like that. And that's how they
Yeah.
pass along their storytelling and their history through
Oh,
objects.
we have to just explain a little bit more. Like, so telemetry is you touch an object and you could pick up any psionic energy from people who've been touching that object. So you could basically see the history of anything related to the object. Oh, wait, it was somebody in the group who, like, whenever she would walk into a house, she would have to be so careful because even though she was like transition, she wasn't fully in control or something, right?
I think that may be Jan. That's what we talking about now.
Okay, yeah, yeah. So Jan benefited the most from the pattern because she gained way more control over her powers
Mhm.
after being in the pattern. She before she was scared to like go to certain places because if she mistakenly touched something, she might witness somebody getting murdered. And I think she would actually live it. It's not
Yeah.
just seeing it, you actually experience it yourself.
Hmm.
So she used to have to be very wary about what she did.
Yeah.
And even touching other people, if she touched somebody else, she would pick up their whole history as well.
Hmm.
So she had to be very careful. And I think from the pattern, she learned that she could not only pick up history, she could also put down history onto an object.
Yeah.
And I think that's where they realized, oh, we could use this to teach our kids the history of the pattern, and we could teach them about Doro and blah blah blah. So I guess what it did was, I guess people gave her their thoughts and memories so she could put them into objects or something. I don't know.
Yeah, basically, and she could decide what thoughts and what memories would be coming from that object as well.
That's actually amazing. That's a
Yeah.
cool power.
Mm-hmm.
Not as powerful as other people, but you could imagine you could still use that in, like, imagine like an X-Men fight or something
Yeah.
where you could like hit somebody with like a pebble or something, and that pebble just full of like a bunch of murders. So
Yeah.
that person just feel like they keep dying over and over and over because of that pebble hitting them.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a genjutsu kind of vibe.
Yeah. So she's recruiting people, and at the point in the story, I think she has 1,500 adults and 500 children, so 2,000 people in this pattern. Well, no, 2,000.
SHEEEE.
Yeah, she has 1,500 adults in the pattern and 500 kids who are latent going to become in the pattern over time.
And they had to figure out ways to deal with the kids because for some reason adult psychics can't really deal
Yeah,
with kids.
at all.
So they have to basically take over the whole neighborhood,
Mm-hmm.
turn all the muggles into slaves
Yeah,
to take care of their kids.
yeah.
What do they call the people who didn't have psychic powers?
Mutes.
Youths. Yo.
Emma did not like that word because it was basically calling them the N word, as she said.
Hey,
Yeah.
another theme of the book.
Mm-hmm.
Another theme of the book. And Emma didn't like the pattern either, didn't she? Like, I don't remember, but I feel like she didn't like it.
Um.
She thought it was dangerous, I feel.
Yeah. Something like that. Oh my gosh. Hold on, babe. Kaden, about to turn off my computer.
Uh-oh. Podcast will be cut short. There's a baby on the screen, guys. You just can't see him. There he is, a little bit. That's my little nephew. But I will say this while we're in intermission. If you guys are here, you've been listening this far, you are a trooper. You should like, subscribe, comment, hit that noti bell because, I mean, why not? Why not subscribe? Don't make me be like these other YouTubers and yell into the mic.
Okay.
Like that, like don't let me do that because y'all know y'all need to go in.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you back, bro?
Yeah, I'm back.
Okay, so now they're recruiting people. Now Doro is like getting scared.
Yeah.
Cause
Cautious.
he's like, yeah, cautious. Cause he's like, the experiment going good, but going too good.
Yeah.
Let me see if I still have control. I think that's really what it was about. He's wanted to make sure that he still was in charge.
Yeah. But I mean, they taught the children of Doro. Everybody knows about Doro, so everybody knows who's really in charge. They just wanted to do things their own way, which wasn't hurting anybody. Nobody was dying. But he came and he told her, "Hey, you have to stop this little program and go back to the old ways," which was like just breeding.
Yeah. Oh, he just wanted to just be his breeders again.
Yeah.
So he had all his cattle in one spot, and he was like, "Stop bringing in more cattle. I want y'all to bring in more people the old-fashioned way,
Yeah.
my way."
Yeah. So I
Yeah.
read in some notes that people were comparing Anyanu and Mary. They're saying that basically he collected people for Doro because he just bring everybody into one place, make it easier for him to get them.
I mean, that's what she was bred for, so that makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't really be angry with somebody for what they were born to do,
No, they
basically.
weren't angry, they're just making the comparison.
Oh, okay. And also, too, that's the next thing to think about, right? People get upset at like children or like people in general for like being a certain way when that might just be their personality because of how they were born, or let's use like sexuality, for example.
Yeah.
How are you gonna be upset with somebody for being gay when they have literally no control over that? It's the same thing here. Like I mean, I know you said that they're not upset, but
Yeah.
if they were, it wouldn't make sense because she don't really have control. Like he literally spent 3,000 years trying to create her.
Yeah.
Hey,
Hello.
little cute self. So Dora tell her, stop it. She was like, but why, basically.
Yeah,
And then I think if Dora had left her alone, he actually would have stayed in power.
yeah. So he
Because
always was.
he would have just eat people as he needed,
Mm-hmm.
and she would have kept recruiting them because that's what she know. And she would have never explored the other option of killing him,
Yeah.
which we could finally get to, which
So
is
we
your
here
favorite part of
now.
the
We
book.
here now.
Yeah, we're finally
Yeah.
here.
Ah. Well, Doro tells her she has to stop bringing in people. She doesn't understand why. He doesn't tell her why. Like, there's no real reason why. So she talks to Carl, and Carl's like, "Well, you have to kill her. Kill him."
Wait,
Sorry.
let's talk about um, the starting five or seven or whatever they were. They started calling themselves something, right?
The founding family,
Yeah,
maybe. Yeah.
yeah, the founding family. And then they would have households basically, right?
Yeah.
What was the household about? Like that would just be them with a bunch of latents or what? Because I fell
That's
asleep.
where you would have actives taking care of latents, and then I think taking care of kids as well in some regard, because the kids had like to be in their own separate school off to the side because there was too much of them together in one place.
There were some psychics who could put up with them though, right?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
And those are the ones who would go and let them know, hey, this is who you are, this is what you're going to be, and then mind control the parents, let them go and whatnot. So basically, Emma had a problem with the kidnapping aspect of it.
Wait, kidnapping?
Well, they were taking the kids from their parents.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Oh, somebody just joined the party.
Uh oh.
That's me
Yeah.
saying hello back. um, okay. Wait,
Yes.
were their parents latents too or not?
I think they were because Latents could not take care of their children because they were so bad to them, as her
Oh
mom
my
was to her.
gosh, another theme
Yeah.
in the book.
Mm-hmm.
You talk about black children growing up with well, they paint that picture, but it's not true.
Mm-hmm.
But let's just say children instead of black children. Children grew up without their fathers.
Yeah.
In this book, they take it to a whole other level of children growing up with none of their parents, basically,
Yeah.
and basically growing up with adopted parents, which by far is still better than America because as much as we are anti-abortion in America, well, I want to say we, as much as some people in America are anti-abortion, they do not give any way to how these people be taken care of once they're born. At least in this book, they all get adopted.
Yeah.
Granted, the people who adopt them are mind controlled into doing it.
Yeah.
But I think that's another theme. Like, there's no sense of family in this book, really, or at least no sense of blood family. Your
Gotcha.
family is just whoever you're adopted into,
Yeah.
and that could be other psychics or mutes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But I feel
So
like
there
the family aspect came from just the connection, that strong
through the
connection that
pattern.
you had. Yeah.
Yeah. You think people in pattern like grouped off as well in some ways?
So of how.
Like for instance, if these strings in the pattern have more of a connection with each other, so they kind of clump, and then these strings kind of clump, and then these strings kind of like that kind of
Or
way.
like the intertwine.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say no. Yes or no. Because
Mm.
we're gonna talk about it in the fight. Um,
Okay.
or we could just get into the fight, get back to the fight.
Let's get back to the fight.
So Carl tells her she got to kill Doro, and then he tells the other founding family members that it's gonna happen. If you want to leave, you can leave. And they're like, we ain't leaving. Which is another, I guess, effect of the pattern. Like they feel so connected to her, they're not gonna leave,
Yeah.
and they just want things to go about the way it's going about. Because even
It's a strong, way stronger loyalty than they felt for Doro, actually.
yeah. So
Yeah.
I guess Dora tells her to stop, and then like, she knows she can't stop, and then she wants to get everybody away from the place as far as possible because
Yeah,
if she happens to die, the pattern breaks and then they can't stand each other again. So it's gonna be mayhem.
yeah,
So the plan was to send Carl's lover, who was also Doro's lover, to Doro's room to distract him so he wouldn't feel people leaving. That did not go well at all because it's Doro.
backfire,
He's like,
backfire big time.
"What are you doing here?
Yeah,
you love a Carl." So
right.
he comes to the room when she's trying to tell everybody through her mind, run away. And then he comes to the room and she's like, "Hey, y'all, stop running away. I gonna need you guys to sit down, stand still because I gonna need your help." So
Yeah,
the fight starts. And I want you to describe the fight. Could you like that image of what they were?
yeah. So I like that she told everybody to like sit down or like lay down or whatever, because she knew that she would have to suck their energy, and she didn't want them to like hurt themselves if they like she drank too much. So I really like that about her. I think honestly, Mary, despite being a firecracker, she was a very caring person.
Mm-hmm.
Like even for her mom, like I remember earlier on in the book, she was talking about how before she used to like get her mom gifts when she was still pretending that she was her mom, kind of vibe.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so the fight. So this is my favorite fight in the whole thing, man. Uh, we didn't talk about when Doro shared his experience with Anyanwu.
Yeah, and he has, and the important part as well. Okay, sorry, no fight. So Doro had a recollection of how he came to be.
Oh yeah, how could we miss that?
I feel like that's why
Yeah,
you understood him more than I did because you read this book first and you had this to
yeah.
guide you. So basically, he was a child who was going through transition, but back then there was no name for it. And during his transition, he almost died, and he took his mom and his dad, and he just kept taking people and taking people and taking people.
No, let me tell the story. Let me tell the story. No, no, you giving it a general thing. I want to be very specific.
Oh boy, go ahead.
Doro was a very his mom, all her children died. He was the only one that survived.
Hmm.
Like they would die on birth because they were all weak as fuck. Doro was also weak as fuck, but he survived.
Yeah,
He nearly died several times in his childhood from sickness and stuff, but he survived. Then he was going through transition. And when he was going through transition, he was picking up all the mental static and all the stuff that everybody picks up. And I think in his last phase is kind of similar to Mary, where he reflexively did something. And in this case, his mom came in to check on him because he was there going through his stuff, looking like a crazy, like, schizophrenic, I guess.
yeah,
So mom came in to check on him. And without realizing what he did, he transitioned his body. He basically consumed his mom and became her.
yeah,
So now, while he's looking down at himself,
yeah.
he's confused. His
Hmm.
transition is over. He's not picking up any more mental static, and he's just confused about what's going on. He's looking down at his own body.
Yeah,
I think his dad comes in the room to check on the wife to see what's going on, and again he transitioned. I want not using the correct word, but he basically takes his dad's body next
hmm,
on reflex. After that, I think he realized what's happening, and he gets scared, and he just start like instantly transferring his mind to a bunch of people all over the place
yep,
uncontrollably, and basically being scared. Like he don't know what's going on. He just transferring. And then eventually I think he ends up in a little boy's mind or a little kid's mind. And apparently he transitioned so much for so many, I don't know, years. I don't even know how long it took before he finally stopped. But there was a war going on between Egypt and his country, and Egypt started enslaving everybody there. And he was in a boy's brain by the time he got enslaved.
one of his
So by
cousins.
then, oh, one of his cousins, yeah. Look at the cutie. Hi. Oh man, I would need a baby. Anyway, got enslaved. I guess he finally got control of his body by then, so he stopped because he could have stopped that war easily if he wanted to. And then he said at that point he was like basically blackout. He didn't know what the heck happened for like all that time. I think that was just a way for her to not have to write it all out.
That's funny.
But he basically said he blacked out and then he like regained like sanity, I guess, at some point, like 500 years later, I think he said. Imagine being blacked out for 500 years. That's crazy.
Very crazy.
But yeah, he finally regained consciousness, and then from there, he felt a draw to somebody. And that's the first time he killed somebody on purpose because they tasted good. And then after that, he basically became a predator, hunting down these people who had this particular taste that he wanted to taste. And then after a while, he was like, why am I doing this? Let me just breed them like cattle, then I don't have to hunt them down. And then that evolved in instead of just breed them like cattle, so I don't have to hunt them down, let me just make them into my people.
Yep. So I guess you could describe
So,
the fight now
okay, let's talk about him sharing the experience with Anyanwu first, though.
with Mary.
With Mary, no, Anyanwu first.
Okay, go ahead.
I remember he shared the experience with her because he was like, I've only shared this with very few people because they don't usually like it.
Okay,
But Anyanwu like participated, and that's why he like kind of fell in love with her even more.
gotcha.
So basically, they show the mental images in the mental landscape. He's like a sun, like a bright shining star, and their consciousness is like a smaller version of that. And what he basically does is he wraps himself around them, and then they become one for a little while. And if he don't stop, eventually their consciousness starts to like get destroyed and become a part of him. And that's how he like takes over our body.
Gotcha.
So Anyanwu, when she first started like doing, when he first came to her and wanted to do it, she was participating. Like she allowed herself to like enjoy it because he says like basically it feels pleasurable at first to the person he's taking over. It feels pleasurable until they realize that they're dying, and then they start to feel fear.
Yeah.
And then it's not pleasurable for him anymore because he feels whatever they feel,
Mm-hmm.
basically.
Mm-hmm.
But with Anyanwu, she didn't feel fear. She felt like the pleasurable part of it.
Yeah.
She even realized that she was dying, but she didn't care.
Yeah, I remember that now. Yeah.
Yeah, she didn't care because she was like, well, whatever. He tricked me, basically.
We missed something very important as well.
What?
When Mary first transitioned, what did she try to do?
I don't remember.
She tried to read Doro.
Oh, yes! That's an important part, too.
And then she
Dude,
got
there's so many.
this falling sensation, like she about to not be around anymore.
Yeah, I'm gonna describe that. That's funny. That's a good. So yeah, once he was messing with Anyanwu, and Anyanwu was like, "I'm dying." He tricked me, but she didn't feel fear because she was like, "Whatever. This
Yeah.
is Doro. He gonna do whatever he want anyway."
Mm-hmm.
So then he started to untangle himself from her and break apart from
Yeah.
her so that she
Yeah.
could live. And he loved her so much for that because he can't share his experience with anybody unless he's about to kill them.
Yeah.
And the few people that he could share it with, who could survive, which people who are strong psychic people,
Mm-hmm.
it always felt like they was doing it, but not willingly, like not consensually.
Yeah.
So for him, it felt kind of rapey. So he didn't often do it because he didn't like that rapey feeling
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
doing it. But he really appreciated Anyanwu because she actually participated. She actually enjoyed the pleasure and allowed him to feel it. And she felt his pleasure back. And like it was like a whole thing.
Yeah. Ooh. Speaking of that, we missed something else. When
Oh man,
Carl and Mary made love in a special way.
I fell asleep for that part.
Oh
I don't
my
remember that.
gosh. All
But
right.
I do remember it from like, I've read
Yeah.
this book so many times, like kind of I do remember it, but I wouldn't remember that unless you brought it up just now.
Yeah.
So let's talk about Mary realizing that she cannot mind read Doro.
Mm-mm.
So she described the experience of approaching the ledge of a cliff.
Mhm.
You could force yourself to step over it, but you know you're gonna die. And that's how she described it. Oh, she also described like when she swept out her consciousness to find out everybody in her vicinity,
Mhm.
she could see them. She could like feel their mental energies and all that kind of stuff. But
Yep.
for Doro, he felt like a lamp. He didn't feel like a living thing.
Yeah.
I thought that was an interesting thing. Okay. Now you could describe this the intimate encounter.
So normally, psych what else is psychopaths? Telepaths are shielded to each other and to people. So when Carl was making love with, let's say, Vivian, it would be like a one-way gate where he could see into her mind. She can't see into his mind. But unfortunately, Carl and Jan actually did get together once, well, multiple times. But they had a special way of just completely unshielding each other, unshielding themselves, and like just going into each other mentally, which would heighten the experience
Ooh,
because I could feel what you feeling, but then I'm not just seeing it, I'm actually feeling what you feeling, what I'm feeling, what I'm feeling. So it's like a
it's like a
double,
loop.
yeah, exactly. And that was just like reading that was like, ooh, that sounds nice. But
That
then
sounds hot.
yeah. But since you couldn't lie to Mary, once she did it with Carl, she saw that he did it with Jan. But it wasn't the same thing as with Mary because with Mary she completely unshielded, but Jan was still hesitant because she didn't really like people like that. So what she and
Yeah.
Carl did that brought the relationship to a whole other level.
Yeah, man, I would love to do that in real life.
Yeah, man.
Like, can you imagine that? Like,
I
you
can, and
know,
it's scary and it's like fun at the same time.
yeah, yeah. Because as a telepath, right? If you allow somebody in, they could
Yeah.
hurt you.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like full trust.
Mm-hmm.
That's
And
why you
that's
have to
that's
shield
why
them.
Mary loved Carl so much because there were so many times she just opened herself completely and he only did what he said he was going to do. He went for that specific thought and he was out.
Yeah. Man, Carl, as much as he hated her in the beginning,
Yeah.
he actually like was a good husband for her.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, that sounds so hot, man.
Yeah.
Because like we have this idea of like loving somebody emotionally, mentally, physically, and all that, but they could actually do it.
Yeah.
That's that's amazing.
I feel like
All
that's
right, so
sorry, like as a connection to what we feel with people when we have our walls up and we finally let them in. It's like something like
ooh,
yeah, you know what I mean?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
dude. This I love how these stories have so many parallels, man. All right, now the fight.
Okay, finally.
So Doro comes in the room.
Mhm.
He's like, "What are you doing?"
You don't have to say
She's like,
nothing.
"She's like, you know what I'm doing." He's like, "All right, let's lay down on this bed together and just see what happens." So now they basically in the mental landscape now.
You forget about Carl. Carl got in between them.
Oh, what happened? I think I woke up.
Carl
This
Carl
morning.
tried to step in between them to like stop them or talk them down, and they were like, "You have to leave." My boy was like, "I want to sit down right here." He just sat down in the room,
Yeah,
and then they
yeah,
went to the
yeah.
side of the bed, and they're like, "Carl, you need to at least walk away." So he went to the chair by the window to watch them.
Okay. I
Yeah,
wonder what I wish that she I mean it probably would have been boring, but
mm.
describe what Carl was seeing a little bit.
Just this. Just,
Yeah, just both of them just there like this for like an hour. Like they just Carl's like, this is some boring shit. I'm gonna read a
let
book.
me give me a glass of milk and come back.
Yeah,
But he couldn't walk at that. He can't do anything at that time, actually.
he couldn't do it because she was sucking energy from him. I think
Yeah,
he was the first person she sucked from, right?
yeah. He went limp.
Yeah. Luckily he didn't die.
Yeah, man.
Because some people did die. So the fight starts. You see two suns, two big bright stars,
Hmm.
one larger than the other. I
Hmm.
think Dora was bigger than her at first.
Yeah,
So at first, she tried attacking him normally how psychics fight,
yeah.
right?
Yep.
And he basically just immediately just enveloped her. Like it's just a big sun
Yeah.
overtaking a small sun.
Hmm.
And at first, she starts to struggle. And the way how Dora described it is the more you struggle, the faster he kills you, basically.
Yeah.
Because he liked to suck up that energy. And for her, he was relishing in it because he was sucking up her fear
Hmm.
and like liking it because
Yeah.
obviously he was basically punishing her by killing her.
Hmm.
So he was reveling in it. And at first, she was like really fighting. Actually, before the fight even began, she sucked a bunch of people's energy. I think that's why Carl survived
Yeah.
because she sucked up a bunch of people's energy at first
Yeah.
to go into the fight. And
Mm,
then when she was in the fight, Doro started absorbing her, and then he described it as the best meal he ever had because it was so much energy all at once.
yeah.
Because normally, he killed one person at a time, he just get their little
Mm-hmm.
psychic energy. But with her, he was getting all of their psychic energy as well.
Yeah.
So he was really enjoying the meal.
Yeah.
And then she pretty much died, but
Five
she
times.
couldn't die.
5 times.
Yeah, she died 5 times, but she couldn't die because every time she would die, the pattern would just automatically suck people energy and keep her alive.
Yep.
So basically, the only way to kill her would be to kill literally everybody in the pattern
Mm-hmm.
all at once, which Doro probably could have done if he didn't lose the fight.
Yeah, he said he could kill multiple people at the same time.
But the other thing is, I don't think he wanted to do that either
Mm.
because he would lose a lot of his work that he did over these 3,000 years.
Yeah, you gotta do what you gotta do sometimes.
Yeah, I
You
guess.
you know why I like this fight so much? When I text you that I was pissed is because the fight had started and she was losing. I was like, they're gonna do this.
Yep.
They're gonna do this.
Yep.
And then I read the other part, I was like, never mind. No, no, hold up, hold up, hold up.
Yeah. I remember.
Cause
He
he
texted
was
me like, I pissed. And then he like, never mind.
he was like, you know what? I'm gonna end this fight. I'm gonna pause this fight, leave, do what I gotta do, and then come back and finish the fight. I was like, wow, you talking some big talk.
Yeah.
And then it
Because
switched.
he couldn't kill her.
Yeah,
So he
exactly.
was like, let me go regain my energy and come back. Or let
And
me figure
actually
out another tactic.
kill her physically.
Yeah, that's what he was gonna do. He was gonna find a body, come
Yeah.
up to her and kill her.
Hmm.
Because she can't really stop him from doing that,
Yeah.
really and truly.
Hmm.
She can't kill him, obviously, but at that point she didn't know how.
Yeah.
And he knew he could kill her, even though I think it would have been hard for him to kill her because she could just heal herself.
That's why he'd have to cut her head off completely. Just shoot.
Um, she might not have been as good as Emma in terms of healing, but she was learning very quickly how to
Yeah.
like do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So, and also, did she ever mind read Emma?
Remember, Dora went to Emma first and told her that Mary's getting too dangerous, and this and that, and the third, and she read that conversation to understand what was gonna happen next.
Okay, but I meant more so like, did she ever mind read Emma to like learn how to heal and stuff?
Oh no, I don't think so. It didn't describe that.
If she did, she would have gained so much knowledge because Emma had over 400 years of knowledge of how to heal.
Yeah, but probably more than that.
So anyway, probably more than that. Plus all the plants and stuff that she ate, all the poisons that she consumed to figure out how
Yeah.
to counteract.
So there's a thunderstorm
Um,
outside, so this gonna be cutting short.
okay, I gotta hurry up. That's what
Yeah.
I'm hearing.
Yeah.
All right, so Doro overtaking her, she nearly died. He decided, I can't kill her fast enough. Let me go re-strategize, take over some bodies, come back and kill her. But then she noticed something.
Hmm.
Is this when she noticed the little strand?
Yeah.
She noticed a little strand leading to Doro.
Hmm.
She's like, this look a lot like a latent strand.
Yeah.
Hmm, let me tug at this, see what happens.
Yep.
And then she realized Doro is a latent.
Hmm.
This whole time, he was a latent.
That's
That's
wild.
crazy.
Yeah.
I wonder what would have happened if she had make him into an active. Like, would he have died because he didn't have his own body?
Mm. Do you think they actually need bodies? Honestly.
I think so. I
So,
think they have the way I interpret it is that they have a genetic mutation that allows their body to do this stuff.
so then it still brings the question up of what Doro actually is. Is he a mutation himself?
I think so,
Mm.
but like different. I wonder if he had survived his transition in his own body, what he would have been.
Yeah.
Like he probably would have been like her, maybe,
Yeah.
or like he probably would have been like his failed experiments.
Mm.
Like he would have drawn them in, kill them.
Yeah.
Next one,
Yeah.
draw them in, kill them. So she found his thread. She started eating him,
Yes.
and then they had a power struggle.
Mm.
Both of them trying to eat each other.
Yeah.
Both of them just, I'm gonna suck you off. I'm gonna suck you off.
Whoa.
But in the end, because he was a part of her pattern now, she started sucking him off through her pattern and normally, like basically eating him and draining him through the pattern. So
Yeah.
he couldn't fight from both ends, basically. And then he started to feel scared.
Yep.
Okay, at first when she started to eat him, he was like, "I'm not gonna let you win. I know how to fight against myself. I
Yeah.
just don't have to. I just don't struggle."
Mm-hmm.
So she wasn't draining much of his energy at first
Yeah.
because he just wasn't struggling.
Mm-hmm.
He just was calmly like, "Okay, I'll let you get your little punches in." And
Yeah.
then after he started eating her again, and then it was go back and forth until she found that he was in the pattern.
Yeah.
Then after that, Doro started feeling scared.
Yeah.
And then she started relishing in his fare.
Mm-hmm.
And that was GG's.
GG's, Doro.
The way how it ended was the writing described it as his screams of terror, his silent screams of terror. I was like, damn, that sounds epic and scary.
Yeah, dude. Down with Doro.
So now Dora is gone. 3,000 years down the drain.
His own fault.
Yeah. I think if he had left her alone, he could have definitely still been in charge, especially since they were teaching everybody about him.
But you couldn't defy him anyways.
Yeah.
So like what are you worried about?
And I think the thing is, he underestimated her.
Yeah, he did.
And I think Emma warned him about that in the beginning, didn't she?
Mm-hmm.
And I think this also brings another theme. Basically, men not feeling threatened by women.
Yeah.
But in the end, everybody had the chance of
Yeah.
being lucky at least, at
At least
minimum.
once. Yep.
Yeah. So, yeah. So that was a good ending for the book. I think you were happy that Doro died.
Definitely.
What made you feel a connection to him in the end though?
What connection?
Or like you felt like more like what's the word I'm looking for? Like you kind of like saw him more as a person.
Well, when he was given Mary instruction when he was crying for Anyanu, and I guess the jealousy and the need for power.
Mm.
Yeah.
I also saw some humanity in him when Isaac died.
Oh yeah, then too. Then too.
Yeah. But yeah, he's a very interesting guy. He didn't see himself as a human being, did he?
I don't think he did. He really wasn't.
And she was like, "What race are you?" when she was a kid or something like that. And
I've
he
been
was
many
like,
races.
"Yeah," he's like, "I'm not a race." And she's like, "Well, what were you born as?" He was like, "I was born black." And
Yeah.
she's like, "Well, then you're black."
Yeah.
And he's like,
That's
"No,
that's
I'm
strong too. That's some strong words too.
yeah, that's strong." He was like, "Nah, I've been black, I've been white, I've been Asian, I've been Native American.
Yeah.
He's been a man, he's been a woman."
Mm-hmm.
I also thought about that, having sex as a different sex.
Mm-hmm.
And what was that like for him, especially since, he was born a guy?
I think they described it as both of them enjoying it.
Well, obviously. But I meant more like I meant more like did he like understand women better after? Like, you know what I mean?
Mm,
Like
no,
at least their sexuality better.
maybe that part. But then again, he didn't have, to me, that kind of introspection to actually do something like that. To
Yeah, he
actually,
didn't really care.
if it was like Anyanu now, she'd understand like the different parts, like what's happening with the hormones and things like that. But he didn't have that kind of understanding.
Yeah, yeah. Do you think he was a good lover though, in bed, kind of
Definitely,
thing?
obviously,
Well, he had 300 years of experience. He better be, or
they have
else he just
thousands of children, and
yeah,
and everybody wants him.
yeah. Let's talk about Anyanu's ability to shapeshift and how it feels when you touch it while she's doing it. Because he kind of described that at one point too.
You go ahead.
'Cause he said it felt like her skin was like clay, but like it felt good.
Mm, yeah, yeah.
And then she was like, "You felt this before." And she meant like she's done it during sex.
Oh wow.
Yeah. You remember that? She was talking about how like he's felt it before, but he just didn't know.
Ah, so she just like rejuvenating. Oh no, that's wild as
She
hell.
just shape shifting that pom pom boy.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Hey, if you have any kids in this podcast, please
We already told him
take
not to
parental
be here.
guidance. This is PG-19. But anyway,
Yeah. These were some good books. I really appreciate you asking me to read them with you. And I like the
hey,
it's created like a bond for us almost even more than we had before, I believe.
yeah, I appreciate you reading them with me because, I be trying to get everybody to read these books with me, especially Mind of My Mind. Mind of My Mind is my favorite one. Obviously, it's the very first one I read. And I feel like when you told me, like, I really like this book,
Yeah.
like, I told you, like, that made my day because
Yeah.
it's nice to hear somebody appreciate something that you, like, really love.
Mm-hmm.
So, thanks for reading with me.
I kind of want to like shout out the other podcasts that gave me like some insight into what I was thinking, how I was feeling, because they were very objective in their thoughts. They were just, they want a stronger black female as the lead role, which I
Yeah, send
understand.
it to me.
I
I kind of
understand.
want to watch it.
I can't find it in my history though.
Let's look for it later and put it in the show notes. I mean, not show notes,
I found it.
description.
Yeah,
Oh, you did.
but I just want to shout them out verbally to
Oh, put it
oh
in the chat.
Black Booktician. That's her name. Yeah, the Locked Booktician. Sorry. And
Oh, go ahead.
one more shout out to the Soul Affirmations podcast. I was listening to the podcast. That's the one I share with you, and y'all voices just sound so melodic and so beautiful. Like I, the part of me that does production, like I need to find out a way to get our mics to sound like that because they were sounding like they were inside my ears or inside of me. I mean, pause, but it was a good experience. Go ahead.
I also wanted to say we have two more books in the series to read. We're gonna read the next two books, well, audiobooks, and then we're talking about those together the same way we did with this, because all the stories are obviously interrelated, but I felt like the first and the second book are more closely related, and then the third and fourth are more closely related.
Gotcha.
So yeah.
All right, man. This has been a good day. We went over time, but who cares?
I think the audio listeners might enjoy this one a lot because this was a very
Yeah.
audio focused
I feel like I'll
talk.
break it down into two episodes, if that's okay. One for the first
Yeah.
book, one for the second book.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you're hearing
And if
this
we miss
now
anything,
and you listen to the second one, go listen to the first one, please, because they're connected.
yeah. And don't forget to subscribe, like, leave a comment,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
hit
yeah.
the bell. You know what's the benefits of hitting the bell?
Also have benefit. Tell them.
Okay, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
You get 1 month
Oh no.
free,
Oh no.
free,
Uh-huh.
free, guys. You can't knock free
Mm-hmm.
notifications about us coming on.
And after that first month, what happens?
Oh, then you get a lifetime supply of that same thing.
That's funny. Oh man. This has been Rabbit Hole Roundtable Talks, and we'll see you guys hopefully in the next 2 weeks.
All right, guys, take care.
Peace.